Chapter 13:12. After killing the man in black, Knight Sorrow felt that he needed to change his strategy. He could not avoid fighting, because even if he did not want to kill, others would treat him as a fat sheep. Knight Sorrow decided to kill. There was no need to be polite, because there were no kind people here. They all saw their opponents as resources and materials. After collecting the storage ring of the man in black, Knight Sorrow continued forward. 4 other cultivators, killing their opponents would give them cultivation resources. But Knight Sorrow did not care about these people's cultivation resources. He had a lot of resources. After going to the Limitless Soul region, and the Ice Dragon realm, Knight Sorrow had a lot of resources. In terms of temperament, Knight Sorrow did not like to be killed indiscriminately, but as he explored, battles happened frequently. However, no one was a threat to Knight Sorrow because they were not strong enough. Now, whether it was Knight Sorrow's original body or his doppelganger, they were all comparable to monarchs. There were too few monarchs here. They were not willing to take the risk. They lacked enlightenment, not resources. It was not that they did not lack resources, but that it was not worth risking their lives. Knight Sorrow was not afraid of monarchs, let alone some kings. If someone approached him with bad intentions, Knight Sorrow would kill without saying anything. As he fought, Knight Sorrow felt that his state of mind was much better. This made him understand another principle. It was important to cultivate one's heart and morals, but he could not suppress himself too much. That was not in line with the heavens. He just had to be himself and let nature take its course. Everyone's state of mind was different at different times. Sometimes one needed to be steady, and sometimes one needed to be sharp. After changing his state of mind, Knight Sorrow did not rest. He directly patrolled this space world and killed anyone who approached him. 6 days. In 6 days, Knight Sorrow had pretty much finished exploring this small spatial world. He had also killed quite a few people. Among them, there were 2 smart fellows who felt that they were no match for Knight Sorrow when he didn't use any of his ultimate techniques. They immediately called out and left the Heaven and Earth Pavilion. Of course, Knight Sorrow didn't use his ultimate skill, but the opponent's strength was also one of the main reasons. Knight Sorrow didn't know what the requirements for entering the next world were, but that was all he could do for now. He hadn't found a spatial tunnel, a teleportation circle, or an energy channel, so he could only wait. Knight Sorrow guessed that there was a limit to the number of people. When the number of people reached a certain level, they would enter the next space. As for how many people had squeezed into this space, Knight Sorrow wasn't sure. However, he knew that even if he didn't meet them, he didn't mind wasting time. After 3 months, some people would leave for fear of death. If they didn't leave, it would be a chaotic battle. Whoever met them would be killed. There was no hurry. Knight Sorrow wasn't in a hurry at all. He was just waiting. Knight Sorrow was constantly on the move every day. Whoever attacked him, whoever was hostile, he would kill them. Half a month later, when Yi Shang was about to take a break, he returned to his original state. The golden light that wrapped around his arm changed again. It protected Yi Shang's body and began to pull him into the void. Knight Sorrow didn't resist. He knew that he had passed the first round of tests and was about to enter the next world. The golden light wrapped around Knight Sorrow and entered the void. The void was full of overbearing and abnormal energy. However, in just a moment, Knight Sorrow entered a new space. Another new challenge. Looking at the golden light that returned to his arm, Knight Sorrow tidied up his robe, carried some Sara, and began to fly. Knight Sorrow didn't know what was going on in this space, but there was nothing wrong with being careful. Others had a way out, but he didn't. Because if others felt that they couldn't take it, they could just shout out and withdraw. However, he wanted to fight to the end. The higher the level, the greater the chance of obtaining the enlightened Tao. Genuine first Hair Knight Sorrow flew in the space, collecting resources and killing demonic beasts that blocked his way. Although the possibility of the enlightened Tao in this space wasn't high, he still wanted to look for it. At this moment, Ling Tian knew that Knight Sorrow had left. He was thinking about what to do. Ling Tian was very clear about what Knight Sorrow was doing in the Heaven and Earth Pavilion. However, he couldn't interfere now. After thinking about it, he arranged for Elder Jia to bring the giant puppet to wait in the profound yellow world. As long as Knight Sorrow appeared, they would kill him at all costs. Ling Tian was very clear that Knight Sorrow was a threat, a huge threat. Furthermore, he knew that if Knight Sorrow obtained the enlightened Tao and the Qing Emperor recovered, then a huge disaster would come for him. The Qing Emperor was very powerful. Last time, Ling Tian used the giant puppet, the other three elders, and Zhang Taiyang to injure the Qing Emperor severely. If the Qing Emperor recovered, together with Sandalwood and Misty Rain, the Qing Emperor's dynasty would be the most powerful force in the world of samsara. In addition, the Red Emperor and Datura were allies of the Qing Emperor's dynasty. As for the Celestial Sect, there were some trump cards that he couldn't use. Therefore, killing Knight Sorrow was the best way. After making some arrangements, Ling Tian went to the Black Fiend Valley and the Martial God Palace. He told them about the current situation. He meant that since Knight Sorrow wasn't there, the Qing Emperor's dynasty's organization would be less strict and they could start a war. The Black Fiend Valley and the Martial God Palace both wanted to attack the Qing Emperor's dynasty, but they felt that they weren't strong enough. In the end, Ling Tian said that the three forces could go to the Burning Sky Tower and ask them to join the siege on the Qing Emperor's dynasty. Then the three of them went to the Burning Sky Tower. After promising a lot of benefits, the Burning Sky Tower's owner agreed to join forces. The four forces joined forces and pressed on the Qing Emperor's dynasty again. After hearing the news, the Qing Emperor's dynasty held a meeting. In this case, the Qing Emperor's dynasty could only fight because there was no way to retreat. Retreat meant that they would fall. The Ninth Heaven Army, the Green Scale Army, and the Green Phoenix Army were all ready for war. After hearing the news, the Dark Abyss Army, the Bloodthirsty Army, and the reorganized Devil Blood Army also joined the battle. The Red Emperor didn't hesitate and sent the Sky Heart Army and the Chiwa Army to fight. The three forces in the eastern district of the world of Samsara set up their armies and were ready to fight the outsiders. The Red Emperor's empire sent messengers to the Qing Emperor's dynasty to ask for Knight Sorrow's opinion on the current situation. After realizing that Knight Sorrow wasn't around, everyone felt that they could only fight on their own. This was a war of attrition. They wanted to see who would give in first and who would give in first. Misty Rain was currently in charge of the Qing Emperor's dynasty. She could only make arrangements for the war step by step. Mother, they probably know that junior brother isn't around. Otherwise, they wouldn't dare to start a war, the Green Phoenix said. We don't know when the Heaven and Earth Pavilion will open. It's hard to say when Knight Sorrow will come back. When he's around, the Qing Emperor's dynasty has the advantage. Now that he's not around, we have to stabilize the situation. Xuanji, you used to be Knight Sorrow's assistant. If Knight Sorrow was here, how would he deal with the current situation? Misty Rain looked at Jun Xuanji. She had heard about him before. Second update. Chapter 13:13. The Commander-in-Chief won't fight the enemy head-on. It's not that he can't win, but he doesn't want to see any losses. If the enemy is stronger than us, we have to play to our strengths and avoid their weaknesses, Jun Xuanji said. That's right. Knight Sorrow isn't here, so we have to gather everyone and make the most suitable decision. Qing Wan, go to the Nine Heaven Army and call Nu Lin and the other generals here, Misty Rain said. After the generals and generals of the Qing Emperor's Imperial Army were gathered, Misty Rain asked Jun Xuanji to share his thoughts. Empress, this isn't appropriate. I'm just an informant under Nine Chong Pavilion's Commander-in-Chief Knight Sorrow, Jun Xuanji said. It's fine. We have to win now. Before Knight Sorrow returns, we have to stabilize the situation, Misty Rain said. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation? Yes, we need to stabilize the situation. We can't afford to lose too much. Do you have any good ideas? Qing Wan said. All right, I'll say it. War is nothing more than a battle of wits and courage. The Commander-in-Chief won't fight the enemy head-on. He will choose to use his strongest force to take down a small portion of the enemy's army. When the army moves, the enemy will follow our rhythm, Jun Xuanji said. That's a good idea. What are the details? Nu Lin asked. Let's move and make the enemy tired. If they split up, we'll take down the smallest portion. Also, we'll find a way to make them disunited and unstable internally. The Empress can send assassins into their territory to assassinate them. This way, they will be worried about their rear. Their attack power will be reduced and they will have a lack of coordination, Jun Xuanji said. Xuanji's idea is good. You all know what I mean. Then we'll study the strategy according to this idea. Misty Rain set the tone. Then the subordinate will arrange for the shadow guards to attack and infiltrate their internal areas to assassinate them. Summer City, who had been standing silently at the side, spoke up. That won't do. If all of them are attacked, they will still act in unison. Their selfishness won't erupt, and they won't cause disharmony. If they want to capture a force and kill it, the attacked party will become restless. As for the other three, it's very likely that they won't care about it, Jun Xuanji said. Summer City, you're good at fighting and killing, but you're too low level when it comes to scheming. Profound Mysteries Realm, which side do you think we should attack? Misty Rain asked Jun Xuanji. The Celestial Sect is useless, and they're already mortal enemies. Whether you attack or not, the situation will be the same. The Martial God's Palace is further away, and it's not suitable. We can choose Black Fiend Valley and Burning Sky Tower. Aren't these two forces despicable? Then we'll capture one of them and teach them a lesson. Let them know that they have to pay the price for being a lackey. Misty Rain nodded. After discussing with everyone, they decided to attack Black Fiend Valley. The Black Fiend Valley and the Qing Emperor's dynasty already had a grudge against each other. Dealing with the Black Fiend Valley was a must. Furthermore, it would also serve as a deterrent to Burning Sky Tower. After the decision was made, Summer City went to carry it out. Misty Rain had the three legions act independently. They also had to communicate with each other and capture each other's forces. After everyone went to carry out the order, Misty Rain looked at Jun Xuanji. The 9 Domains world is really full of talents. With your strategy, it's really a waste that Night Sorrow put you in charge of intelligence. In the past, Xuanji was in charge of the development of the Xuanji realm, so he did more research on scheming and tactics. Studying intelligence in the 9 grand floors is also something I like. Empress, there's another problem. Since Ling Tian dares to ally with other forces to fight against our legions, it's very likely that he knows that Commander Night Sorrow has gone to the Xuanhuan Great World. I'm worried that he will send people to kill Commander Night Sorrow, Jun Xuanji said. Misty Rain nodded. She understood that Night Sorrow had gone to find Ming Dao. Ling Tian definitely didn't want Ming Dao to go to the Qing Emperor's dynasty. If the Qing Emperor was restored, it would definitely be a nightmare for the Celestial Sect. After thinking about it and reassuring Jun Xuanji, Misty Rain left the 9 grand floors and directly teleported to the Dark Abyss. She wanted to see Datura Datura. Datura knew about Misty Rain's arrival. He came out to receive her and brought Misty Rain to the guest house. Then the two began to talk. They mainly talked about the current situation. Misty Rain told him about the Qing Emperor's dynasty's arrangements. I can't help but admire you. Apart from Night Sorrow, your Qing Emperor's dynasty still has amazing talents. Here is the strategic deployment that I just wrote. It's almost the same as what Misty Rain said. Datura took out the strategic deployment she had written and handed it to Misty Rain. I originally planned to send someone to deliver it to the Qing Emperor's dynasty, but it seems there's no need for that. This is the strategy that Night Sorrow's assistant came up with. It's almost the same as what the Overlord came up with. It's enough to show that there's no problem with it, Misty Rain said after looking at Datura's strategy. No problem. Misty Rain came because you don't have enough manpower? All right, I'll send a squad of Bloodstrike guards over later. They'll work on your side for now, Datura said. It's not like that. Currently, the Qing Emperor's dynasty is very stable. I'm worried about Night Sorrow. The Qing Emperor's injuries are very serious. He needs Ming Dao and White Tiger's blood. White Tiger's blood aside, Night Sorrow went to the Heaven and Earth Pavilion to look for Ming Dao. Ling Tian might already know about this, so I'm worried about Night Sorrow's safety. I'm worried that he'll kill him. Misty Rain explained her intentions. If Misty Rain can come today, then the Qing Emperor should have told him about my relationship with Night Sorrow. The Qing Emperor's dynasty doesn't need to care about this. I'll arrange it and send people to the Xuanhuan Great World to wait for Night Sorrow. As long as Night Sorrow comes out, I'll personally go and pick him up. Datura was a smart woman. Misty Rain's words and attitude made her understand that Misty Rain knew about her relationship with Night Sorrow. After hearing Datura's words, Misty Rain nodded. Datura's words reassured her. Here, I'd like to thank you, Your Excellency. Misty Rain cupped her hands to Datura. She was going to leave. Since she had finished her business, she had to go back and take charge. It's nothing. Night Sorrow's business is my business. Datura's business. If you have any inconvenience, just send me a message. We, the Eastern District of the world of Samsara, must win this war. Night Sorrow flew in the space world every day to look for materials. He would not kill people just because there was a limit on the number of people who could enter the next level. That was not what a gentleman would do. He was not very worried about whether he could enter the next level or not. When the 3 months were up, some people would naturally leave. Those who didn't leave naturally had a strong desire to kill. Yishang didn't need to show any killing intent. They would take the initiative to kill. Therefore, Yishang didn't feel any pressure. Night Sorrow did not let go of the low-level materials. Many elixirs needed supplementary materials. It was good to have more materials. Chapter 13-14. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy translation battles happened from time to time because Night Sorrow was not alone here. Many people participated in the trial of the Heaven and Earth Pavilion. There were about 15,000 to 60,000 people. Some of them were disqualified, but there were still about 10,000 people who entered. After entering the space of the Heaven and Earth Pavilion, there would be many people in one space. It was just that the space was big, so they did not meet each other. However, as they explored and looked for opportunities, the chances of them meeting each other increased. Battles were unavoidable. Night Sorrow was very calm. He once thought about exploring separately with his original body and avatar. If there was a battle, he could use the teleportation formation disc. However, he felt that the risk was too high. If he encountered an undefeatable danger, he might not be able to teleport in time. With his original body and avatar together, although the chances were much lower, it was safer. On the first day that Night Sorrow entered this world, he met a strong opponent. It was a young man. He was also with his original body and avatar. His combat power was not as strong as Night Sorrow's, but he had a unique skill that made him invisible at any time. Night Sorrow knew that it was a talent of the dark element. However, Night Sorrow's Space Whirling Dragon Kill and Time Oscillation Wave could both attack the dark space. In other words, if Night Sorrow wanted to, he could attack the turbulence in space. After fighting for 15 minutes, the man retreated a distance because he was no match for Night Sorrow. In fact, if he did not retreat, Night Sorrow would have used his unique skill. Talent. Night Sorrow knew that this man's talent was very strong. It was a talent of the dark and space elements. My name is Junhua. You are very strong. I admire you. Are you interested in forming a team? Junhua looked at Night Sorrow and asked. Sorry, I'm not used to forming teams. Night Sorrow shook his head. Okay, you also have the ability to not form a team. I'm Junhua from Mount Wuling. After you go out, you can find me at Mount Wuling. I'll treat you to good wine. Junhua cupped his hands to Night Sorrow. Look at the section of the edition of. Junhua was well known in the Black-Yellow Great World. He was the disciple of the master of the Wuling Mountain. The master of the Wuling Mountain was very powerful. He was not afraid of anyone at the same level as him in a head-on fight. His disciple, Junhua, made a name for himself at a young age. He had few rivals at the same level as him. In less than 600 years, he had become a king. I'm Night Sorrow of the Qing Emperor's dynasty in the world of Samsara. I'm looking forward to your visit at any time. Night Sorrow cupped one hand in the other before his chest. Junhua wasn't the kind of person to pester, so Night Sorrow didn't dislike it. After Junhua left, Night Sorrow continued his tea hunting trip. Night Sorrow also had a small harvest. He obtained a set of high-level concentric crystals, which were of the same level as the ones he and Datura used. Now Night Sorrow and Datura couldn't use the concentric crystals. The Pavilion of Heaven and Earth was the core origin of the Black-Yellow Great World. It had the ability to suppress everything in the Black-Yellow Great World. Therefore, the concentric crystals were ineffective. Although they couldn't use the concentric crystals, it didn't mean they couldn't. Datura went to the Fengtian Palace to ask about Night Sorrow's current situation. She was also worried about Night Sorrow. After knowing that Night Sorrow was fine, She was relieved. In addition, Datura told Night Sorrow that her doppelganger had been waiting for Night Sorrow in the black-yellow world. She also told Night Sorrow about the current situation in the world of Samsara. After knowing that the celestial sect was on the move again, Night Sorrow was very angry. This Ling Tian was too despicable. He was simply shameless and pestered him endlessly. He was like a scoundrel in the marketplace. After hearing Datura talk about the battle strategy of the Qing Emperor's dynasty, Night Sorrow was a little puzzled. Angry Qilin, Blue Luan, and Blue Qilin didn't use such a battle strategy. He didn't know who came up with this battle strategy. I heard that Misty Rain hired a female military advisor for the Qing Emperor's dynasty. She came from your 9 domains world. Datura told Night Sorrow what she knew. Jun Xuanji. Night Sorrow immediately understood. Only Jun Xuanji came from the 9 domains world and had such an ability. Night Sorrow knew about Jun Xuanji's talent. His talent for cultivation was very good, but his strongest aspect was his ability to manage and strategize. With Jun Xuanji's advice, Night Sorrow felt a lot more at ease. The Qing Emperor's dynasty charged and broke through the enemy lines. With the 9 Heavens army, there wouldn't be any problems. Now that he had Jun Xuanji as the brains, he could stabilize the situation. With his heart at ease, Night Sorrow continued to investigate. Datura's original body also returned to the world of Samsara. Now was a time of trouble, so he had to be careful. Night Sorrow also told Datura that he had left a message crystal between her and the Red Emperor. If someone crushed it, it would mean that they were working together to kill the other party's overlord. Datura nodded. Even if she didn't care about others, she still had to give Night Sorrow face. When it was time to act, she would act. Night Sorrow understood that the other party knew that he wasn't in the Qing Emperor's dynasty, and thought that he could gain the upper hand in the battle. In addition, he felt that the other party might really be waiting for him. Whether he could reach the heavenly law or not, the other party didn't want to give the Qing Emperor a chance to recover. Night Sorrow's life was a little boring as he continued to investigate. However, he wasn't frustrated. After cultivating to this level, his state of mind had already matured. On the 16th day, Night Sorrow's scene changed again. In other words, he changed space and entered the 3rd floor. Night Sorrow began a new round of investigation and battle. He only had one belief, and that was that no matter what he gained in each space, he had to rush to the top. This was because the higher the floor, the higher the possibility of obtaining high-grade treasures. Perhaps he couldn't obtain the heavenly law, but obtaining other treasures that could alleviate the Qing Emperor's situation was also possible. After investigating for 1,000 miles, Night Sorrow encountered trouble. It was an Icefire 2-headed dragon. A monarch-level Icefire 2-headed dragon. The 2-headed Icefire WRM's body flashed as it charged towards Night Sorrow. Although it was huge, it didn't affect the WYRM's speed. It was extremely fast as it charged towards Night Sorrow. Originally, Night Sorrow wanted to dodge. However, this 2-headed Icefire WYRM's aura was very strong. This made Night Sorrow not want to run. If you want to kill me, I'll fight with you. The 2-headed Icefire WYRM was also a material. Since it was delivered to his door, he had to collect it. Of course, whether he had the ability to collect it or not was another matter. Night Sorrow's body flashed. His doppelganger appeared and rushed towards the 2-headed Icefire WYRM with his original body. His target was the red head on the left side of the 2-headed Icefire WYRM. He didn't plan to fight separately. He wanted to use all his strength to destroy one of the heads of the 2-headed Icefire WYRM. That way, the 2-headed Icefire WYRM's combat power and strength would be halved. Spatial Rend. 2 Spatial Rends slashed towards the other head of the 2-headed Icefire WYRM. Night Sorrow's original body used the Great Emperor Reincarnation Slash. The Reincarnation slashed out with a purple halo. His doppelganger's Great Death Obliteration Slash followed closely behind. The 2-headed Icefire WYRM's red head was enveloped by the purple halo. It began to struggle. Having a huge body was an advantage. When it swayed, the 2-headed Icefire WYRM shook off the purple halo's influence. It opened its mouth and bit Night Sorrow's reincarnation. However, Night Sorrow's doppelganger's Great Death Obliteration Slash arrived. The black halo once again enveloped the 2-headed Icefire WYRM. Next, the spatial rend pierced towards its head. You're courting death. I'll take your Icefire Wyrm core. With a low roar, Night Sorrow's original body's reincarnation attacked again. Chapter 13-15. With Sky Splitter in front and Samsara behind, Samsara pierced through the gap in the two-headed flood dragon's mouth and shattered its spirit sea. After shattering the divine sea within the Icefire two-headed Wyrm's fire attribute head, Night Sorrow's true body and avatar rapidly retreated. As the Icefire two-headed Wyrm's tail lashed over, its other head also spewed out ice energy, freezing space. The frozen space extended towards Night Sorrow. After retreating for some distance, the two-headed Icefire flood dragon attacked again. However, wherever its body passed, the frozen space would follow. This was a large-scale attack. It had been careless at the beginning, and now it was cautious. It directly used its cultivation and large-scale attacks to fight Night Sorrow. Do you think I don't have a way? I'll break it. Night Sorrow and his doppelganger activated their protective treasures at the same time. The Pagoda of Time and Dragon Cauldron instantly enlarged. The Pagoda of Time and Dragon Cauldron blocked the two-headed Icefire Flood Dragon's path, and the Dragon Cauldron smashed towards the two-headed Icefire Flood Dragon. With a boom, the frozen space shattered. The Dragon Cauldron smashed it. Night Sorrow and his doppelganger charged forward again, using their two ultimate techniques again. Without any suspense, the two-headed Icefire Flood Dragon's left head, which was already heavily injured, was also bombarded to the point of collapsing. Night Sorrow knew that his easy victory was partly due to luck. The two-headed Icefire Flood Dragon had been careless and did not use its Icefire domain. If that was the case, the battle would be difficult. It would not be so easy. The two-headed Icefire Flood Dragon's attributes restrained each other, but when combined, it was still very powerful. When the two-headed Icefire Flood Dragon discovered that Night Sorrow was just a 7-star king, it did not pay attention to him. By the time it wanted to, it was already too late. After the firehead was destroyed, it could no longer use its ultimate technique. Night Sorrow stepped forward and waved Samsara, dissecting the two-headed Icefire Flood Dragon's corpse. A Monarch rank monster naturally produced Monarch rank materials, and they were very valuable. Night Sorrow first found the Icefire Flood Dragon's core at the joint between the two heads of the Icefire Flood Dragon. The Icefire Flood Dragon core was the most precious material in the body of the two-headed Icefire Flood Dragon. It could be used to refine pills and forge artifacts. It contained a very powerful energy. King could extract the energy from it to cultivate with twice the result with half the effort. Night Sorrow felt that this treasure was very suitable for Wu Lingfei to cultivate. Because Wu Lingfei's ice element had evolved to the life element, this Icefire Dragon core was very suitable for her to cultivate. Wu Lingfei had reached the pinnacle of the Saint King realm a long time ago. She had found a place where life elemental intent manifested in the ocean wave realm. She had begun to cultivate and comprehend intent. Unknowingly, the cultivation level of the 9 regions world continued to rise. Xuexi was the same. She comprehended the wind attribute willpower in a secret place in the profound heaven world. It wasn't that Night Sorrow didn't want to help them, but they felt that they had to walk their own path. If they really couldn't do it, it wouldn't be too late for Night Sorrow to help them. Night Sorrow knew that if he waited a little longer, a new batch of King Realm would appear in the 9 regions world. It was just that he didn't know how long it would take. Shaking his head to get rid of his thoughts, Night Sorrow collected the body of the two-headed Icefire Flood Dragon. The bones and skin of the Monarch-grade Flood Dragon were both treasures for forging artifacts. They could be used to forge high-grade King artifacts. After taking care of the two-headed Icefire Flood Dragon, Night Sorrow continued to explore. He knew that the danger level was much higher than the previous 2 spaces. He wanted to collect more high-grade materials. As they moved forward, Yi Shang saw Junhua by accident. Yi Shang paid attention to it and let her pass. He didn't think that he would meet someone he knew. Perhaps this was just a coincidence. The chances of them advancing at the same time and entering the next level in the same spatial world were not high. Junhua also saw Night Sorrow. He knew that with Night Sorrow's strength, it was very likely that he would obtain a great harvest. If he didn't, it would be because Night Sorrow was from a different world and was rejected by the Xuanhuan Great World. He would face difficulties that others couldn't. The battle became more and more intense. Fortunately, Night Sorrow had grown up in battle. He was not afraid of battle. 2 months later, Night Sorrow had successfully advanced 12 times. In other words, he had reached the 13th level. After entering the 13th level, Night Sorrow found that the difficulty was much higher. This was because king-grade demonic beasts had appeared. Once a battle broke out, it would be a bloody battle that would continue until both sides died. Night Sorrow knew that if he wasn't a high-grade king, he wouldn't be able to survive here. Once he entered, he would have to announce his withdrawal. However, after calculating the time, 3 months were almost up. Next would be the killing mode. What was left was a fight to the death. It was a true fight to the death. This was because there was no chance of reincarnation even if one died. One had to know that everyone had entered with their original body. Even if their clone was outside, if the original body died, the clone would remain alive. Without the comprehension of the realm, they couldn't marry or have children. It could be said that they were just struggling at death's door. Night Sorrow continued to explore this space with relatively dense energy. If he could avoid a battle, he would naturally avoid it. However, he found that all the demonic beasts here had powerful detection abilities. They would detect him in advance. Along the way he killed and fought. When he met a cultivator, no one would be polite. Survival of the fittest. No one would blame the heavens or blame others for their death. On the 3rd day after Night Sorrow entered the 13th level, a gong sounded in the spatial world. The 3-month trial period was up. If he persisted, there would be no chance to withdraw. He would either die or be sent out when the Heaven and Earth Pavilion closed. Night Sorrow didn't hesitate and continued to explore the space. What came next was the main event. It was the time to struggle and reap great rewards. Night Sorrow knew that reaching the 13th level in 3 months was very fast. However, he was still far from it. When he was outside the Heaven and Earth Pavilion, he saw that there were dozens of levels. Now, he had only walked a dozen or so. He remembered that Tang Bo and the others had said that someone had seen a heavenly Tao artifact on the last level. That meant that someone had reached the very top. Only at the very top could one find diluted rare treasures. The heavenly Tao was definitely a diluted rare treasure. After exploring for a few days, Night Sorrow saw a spatial tunnel. He decided to enter it. This was the Heaven and Earth Pavilion. The spatial tunnel was connected to the inner space of the Heaven and Earth Pavilion. When he had arrived at the 13th level, he had been brought in by the mysterious golden light. According to Ran Zhao's law, spatial tunnels couldn't lead to the lower level, so it naturally led to the upper level. After passing through the tunnel, he arrived at another space. However, Night Sorrow felt that there was something wrong with this space. There was an oppressive, baleful aura that made him feel vexed. After being affected, Night Sorrow realized that his emotions had changed, and he knew what was going on. He had to protect his divine sea. After thinking for a moment, Night Sorrow used his soul power to activate his light of virtue to protect his divine sea. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Actually, the most convenient way to protect his divine sea was to use the 9 domain sources to protect his divine sea. However, Night Sorrow didn't want to do that. The 9 domain sources were supreme elemental sources. If they were activated at a high intensity, it would alert the Heaven and Earth Pavilion's artifact spirit. The light of virtue didn't have this drawback. As he advanced, Night Sorrow unexpectedly saw a lifelike skeleton. It was a middle-aged man. He seemed to be meditating, but he had lost all signs of life. Chapter 13:16. Night Sorrow took a closer look and realized that the man's body looked fine on the outside, but his bones and veins were gold with a hint of black. They had been corroded by a strong poison. Night Sorrow knew that this skeleton didn't die recently. It should be someone from another era. Night Sorrow took the storage ring that the man was wearing. Then, he waved his arm and created a big hole in the ground. He moved the man's corpse into the hole and buried it. Night Sorrow then opened the storage ring. Look at the original chapter and section of the chapter. The moment Night Sorrow opened the storage ring, a man appeared. His face was the same as the face of the corpse. Although I've cultivated my body, I'm not strong enough to defend myself against my opponent's absolute poison. There are only 2 ways to deal with it. One is to cultivate the legendary Myriad Tao Tome, and the other is to understand the way. The Myriad Tao Tome is the human sovereign's ultimate skill. Back then, the human sovereign fought with his opponent for the divine artifact of the heavenly path, and its whereabouts are unknown. Therefore, I can only look forward to understanding the way, but unfortunately, the heavens are not helping me. The man raised his head and looked at the void as he muttered to himself. Night Sorrow was shocked. The myriad Dao tome was the ultimate skill of the human sovereign. Then, its appearance in the 9 regions world must be related to the heavenly artifact, the Haotian godly pagoda. I've already foreseen my demise, but I still have regrets in my heart. I have a wife, and I'm very worried about her. I obtained the Thunder Core Iron by chance, and its attribute is suitable for my wife. I originally planned to go out and find a heavenly artificer to give her a weapon, but my hopes have been dashed. I hope that you can give the Thunder Core Iron to her. Night Sorrow sighed. He knew that this was the fate of the heavenly Dao. If one's luck was bad, then they would die. Jun Yunan's collection was still very rich. Night Sorrow didn't plan to take the resources. After he went out, if he saw Jun Yunan's wife, he would return them. He didn't want Jun Yunan to die with regrets. Night Sorrow saw a martial art and felt that it was pretty good. It was called Shadow Body. It was a martial art that could use energy to create shadows. The opponent wouldn't be able to tell the real one from the fake. No matter if it was attacking or escaping, it had a great advantage. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow felt that it was okay to cultivate it himself. After all, Jun Yunan said that he would give him the rest. Shadow Body was also an ultimate skill that Jun Yunan had studied for many years. It wasn't an ultimate skill of the Wuling Villa. If it was an ultimate skill of the Wuling Villa, it would be immoral for Night Sorrow to learn it. It was the inheritance of a force. Even if he learned it, they might investigate. However, it was an ultimate skill that was created by Jun Yunan's own. Holding the book, Night Sorrow started to study it. It wasn't hard to cultivate the shadow body. The hard part was that the soul power had to be strong enough to condense energy into shadows. The stronger the soul power, the harder it would be to tell the real from the fake. After cultivating for 2 days, Night Sorrow had successfully cultivated the shadow body. He then continued on his journey and continued to explore. Jun Yunan also needed to understand the Tao. He had failed on his journey. Night Sorrow wanted to continue on. He didn't know if there was a Tao, but he had to work hard. Pressing forward, Night Sorrow's sharpness was getting sharper. This was also a reflection of his state of mind and his willpower. Night Sorrow no longer avoided battles. When he was exploring the space and collecting resources and ores, he didn't hesitate to kill anyone who came looking for trouble, no matter if they were cultivators or demonic beasts. Half a month later, Night Sorrow found a space tunnel. Without any hesitation, he went in and entered the 15th floor. After entering the 15th floor, Night Sorrow felt a little refreshed. This was because this space world gave people a relaxed feeling. Taking a deep breath, Night Sorrow knew that even if he used the light of virtue to protect himself, he would still be affected in the previous space. Battle. Just as Night Sorrow stabilized himself, a group of demonic beasts with snake heads and human bodies appeared. They were all king beasts. They surrounded Night Sorrow and started to attack. Using the shadow body, Night Sorrow started to kill the demonic beasts without them being able to tell if he was real or fake. He had speed and attack power. Night Sorrow's battle power was already at the monarch rank. Moreover, he also had the dual absolute arts. After half an hour, the group of demonic beasts were all killed by Night Sorrow. Looking at the battlefield, Night Sorrow could feel that after the demonic beasts died, the energy and soul power in their bodies quickly dispersed and returned to the heaven and earth. This made Night Sorrow understand that the heaven and earth pavilion had its own rules. After the death of a life, all the energy would return to the heaven and earth. No matter if it was the life in the original space or the cultivators who entered later, it was the same. There was nothing to clean up. Night Sorrow continued to move forward. He was more careful as he moved forward. The 15th floor was different from when he first entered. The level of resources was different and the risks were also different. The commander of the demonic beasts was at the king level. If an ordinary king entered, even a high-level king would die and become nourishment for the heaven and earth pavilion. After moving forward for half a day, Night Sorrow took a break and brewed a pot of tea. At this moment, Jun Xuanji arrived at the Heaven Sealing Hall and reported the situation to Night Sorrow. The situation in the eastern region of the world of reincarnation was still relatively stable. The Black Fiend Valley could not even take care of itself because the dark guards of the Qing Emperor's dynasty were very fierce. Although there were not many of them, they were all experts in assassination. When they attacked, the Black Fiend Valley suffered heavy losses. The Black Fiend Valley asked the Burning Sky Tower and the Celestial Sect for help. Li Tianba's intention was to clear out the dark guards of the Qing Emperor's dynasty in the Black Fiend Valley, and weaken the power of the Qing Emperor's dynasty. However, Ling Tian felt that the dark guards were experts in assassination and would not be able to catch them. The Black Fiend Valley was so big. Who would be able to catch them if they hid? The Black Fiend Valley's defenses were not as strict as the Qing Emperor's dynasty. The Celestial Sect and the Burning Sky Tower did not help, and it was not convenient for the Martial God Palace to help. Li Tianba angrily announced his withdrawal from the alliance. At this moment, he realized that Ling Tian was unreliable. He formed the alliance and did not care about the life and death of the alliance. The departure of the Black Fiend Valley's people made Ling Tian very angry. This was equivalent to weakening the alliance's power. After thinking for a while, Ling Tian also sent people to assassinate them. Success. The assassins sent by the Celestial Sect assassinated one of the Qing Emperor's dynasty's city lords. However, the result was that the Qing Emperor's guards immediately arrived and sealed the city. They started investigating and killing. A small group of people from the Celestial Sect did not manage to escape and were directly killed by the Qing Emperor's guards. The Celestial Sect's assassins were also very strong, but in terms of assassination, they were not as good as the Dark Guards. This was because the Dark Guards of the Qing Emperor's dynasty all cultivated a consummate skill, the Dark Night Body. This was a consummate skill that the Qing Emperor's Qing Emperor had learned in the past. It was a consummate skill for assassination and retirement. It was because of this consummate skill that the Qing Emperor formed the Dark Guards. Ling Tian, who was at a disadvantage, calmed down. He understood that he was now in a difficult situation. He was puzzled. Night Sorrow had already entered the Heaven and Earth Pavilion, so who else in the Qing Emperor's dynasty could come up with such a strategy? Ling Tian felt that this was not good. He had to think of a way to solve the current crisis. Chapter 13-17. Ling Tian once again sent spies into the Qing Emperor's dynasty to find out who was in charge of the Qing Emperor's dynasty. Some things couldn't be hidden from others, and Ling Tian quickly received the results of his investigation. The Qing Emperor's dynasty's new military advisor, Jun Xuanji, was appointed by Misty Rain, and the Qing Emperor's dynasty was very strict about protecting him. Jun Xuanji was with Misty Rain every day, and there was no way to assassinate him unless there was a huge battle, but the consequences would be too severe. At this moment, Ling Tian received news that the Burning Heaven Hall had also been attacked. This time, Ling Tian didn't dare to ignore it. If he didn't, then the Heaven Sealing Hall would withdraw, and this alliance would be meaningless. If his strength was inferior to the other party, how could he suppress them? Ling Tian arranged for the Celestial Sect and Martial God Palace's people to defend the Burning Heaven Pavilion, but the price was that they would no longer be able to pressure the Qing Emperor's dynasty. The situation stabilized once again. Night Sorrow warned Jun Xuanji not to leave the 9-layer pavilion. Jun Xuanji told Night Sorrow that Misty Rain had come with her to Seven Night City. When she came to the 9-domain world, Misty Rain had accompanied the Qing Emperor. Only then did Night Sorrow relax. Everything was stable, and he could go all out without any worries. Jun Xuanji left, and Night Sorrow's clone in the Heaven Sealing Pavilion continued to study formations. Night Sorrow's main body brought his clone and started to advance. It should be said that they were scouting, because there was no target in this space. They could either kill or find a spatial tunnel. If they found one, then it would be the entrance to the next level. As for going back to the next level, that was impossible. When Night Sorrow had just entered, the spatial tunnel behind him had closed and disappeared, which meant that he could only advance and not retreat. Scouting meant that there was danger, and he had to fight. Night Sorrow felt that it was because his cultivation had increased quickly in the past 2 years, and he had learned some ultimate techniques. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to survive and would be killed as soon as he entered. Night Sorrow also met other cultivators. At this time, no one spoke any nonsense. If they met, they would fight to the death. If they couldn't win, they would run. After staying on the 15th floor for half a month, he had killed 2 cultivators and many demon beasts. Night Sorrow had also obtained some resources. For example, Night Sorrow had collected a lot of the Profound Spirit Pills material, the Profound Spirit Grass. On the 7th day, Night Sorrow found another spatial tunnel. He entered it again and continued to explore the 16th level. Day and night passed as he wandered. Half a year later, Xiaofan entered the 21st level. In the past 6 months, Night Sorrow had fought countless battles. He had killed many cultivators and cleared many Yao beasts. He had also collected many resources. Once, Night Sorrow had encountered danger. It was a monarch-rank flying centipede. It was very poisonous, and its poisonous gas attacked his body. Night Sorrow was not afraid because his body was already at the advanced king rank. Some poisons could no longer hurt him. However, this flying centipede's poison attacked the soul. Night Sorrow had used a glazed golden core to block the poisonous gas attack before he killed the flying centipede. However, Night Sorrow had discovered it a little late. The poison had invaded his body, and he had to heal for half a month before he recovered. After suffering a loss, Night Sorrow had become more careful. He knew that this time, he had the glazed golden core to protect his body. Otherwise, he would have been in danger of dying. He continued to move forward. Although he was in awe, Night Sorrow was not afraid of any challenge. Battles, continuous battles, made Night Sorrow's battle intent stronger. The battle intent brought about waves that rippled in all directions. It was easy to cultivate murderous aura and baleful aura. However, it was too difficult to cultivate battle intent. Many cultivators could release their murderous aura. Sandalwood could do it. Even Ren Tianji could do it. Sandalwood could even release baleful aura. Night Sorrow had gone through a period of endless battles. He did not have any murderous aura. He only had battles to sharpen himself. He had cultivated the battle intent. Night Sorrow was very happy with this unexpected harvest. It was difficult to cultivate pure battle intent. It could suppress some other auras. Sword intent, saber intent, and murderous aura were not as high as pure battle intent. It was rare to sharpen oneself in battles without killing intent. It was almost impossible to treat a battle of life and death as a battle. Night Sorrow felt very lucky. With a harvest, there was a direction. Night Sorrow felt that the battle intent was very effective. It directly affected the opponent's state. Regardless of whether it was a cultivator or a demonic beast, the will of heaven and earth in their body would be weakened and their strength would decrease. Every time he fought, Night Sorrow would try to condense and release the battle intent, trying to cultivate it to a higher level. With the help of the battle intent, Night Sorrow's combat strength increased again, especially in a group battle. The battle intent had a great impact on the opponent. Night Sorrow was very happy that his combat strength had increased. This was a great help to him. Night Sorrow continued to move forward. He did not know how many levels he had to go through in the Heaven and Earth Pavilion. However, he felt that he had reached the level where anything could happen. Ming Dao might also appear. When Night Sorrow explored, he met his opponent. It was a woman in a white dress. Her eyes were filled with murderous aura. "Get out of the way. I don't want to kill anyone," Night Sorrow said when he saw the woman blocking his way. "If too many cultivators enter, it will be very difficult to meet the conditions to enter the next level. Therefore, you will stop here today." The woman waved her arm and a curved blade appeared in her hand. "No matter who it is, they can't stop me. I won't stop others, but I will kill whoever stops me." Night Sorrow's arm shook, and samsara appeared in his hand. He then attacked. The curved blade in the woman's hand hung diagonally. It was a special slash technique. With a crisp sound, Yi Shang's body didn't move. The woman in white was pushed back by Yi Shang's attack. Although Yi Shang had only used an ordinary attack, his strength was incomparably vigorous. His true qi was also abnormally tyrannical, so the woman couldn't withstand it. The woman's body flashed. She circled around Night Sorrow and began to attack with her blade. Her speed was unparalleled. However, Night Sorrow's speed was also his forte. Not only was he fast, but his speed was also supported by the will of time and space. It was more than enough to block the woman. In an instant, the two of them had exchanged dozens of moves. The woman could not make Night Sorrow retreat even half a step. At this time, Night Sorrow's battle intent burst out. Waves of battle intent rippled in all directions. Then, he attacked with a spatial twisting dragon kill. Following an explosion, the woman was blasted far away by Yi Shang. The woman did not continue. After probing, she knew that she was not a match for Night Sorrow. After all, her strength was suppressed. Her attributes were suppressed, and her will was suppressed. If you don't want to fight, get out of the way. Seeing that the woman did not move, Night Sorrow did not move either. If she knew when to advance or retreat, he did not want to kill her. Can you do me a favor? The woman looked at Night Sorrow and asked. No. Night Sorrow refused straightforwardly. He was too busy to deal with his own matters, and he did not want to complicate matters. Listen to me first. There is a treasure in this space, but I can't take it myself. If we work together we might be able to. The treasure will belong to you, and I will only take one thing. The white-robed woman looked at Yi Shang and said her reason. Chapter 13:18. Sometimes, an item is worth a treasure. You have to figure it out yourself. Night Sorrow refused without hesitation. The world was a dog-eat-dog world. No one in the Heaven and Earth Pavilion knew each other. Everyone was his opponent, so he had to be careful. The thing that I want is a resource for my cultivation. As for the rest, I won't take a single thing. If you agree to cooperate, I can swear to the heavens that I won't make you my enemy on this level. Otherwise, I'll be killed by the Heaven and Earth Pavilion, the white-robed woman said. What treasure? How difficult is it? Night Sorrow asked after hearing that the woman was willing to swear to the heavenly Tao. Since it was a treasure, Night Sorrow also wanted to take a look. Perhaps there would be a path to enlightenment in this strange place. Afterward, the woman in white told Night Sorrow that it was the eye of an energy storm. There were many skeletons around, and there were storage rings on the skeletons. What she needed was a rootless plant. The rootless plant grew not far from the eye of the energy storm, but there were evil spirits guarding it. She was repelled when she went there, but she didn't die because she relied on a secret technique. Night Sorrow knew what the eye of the energy storm was. It was a whirlpool formed by extremely dense energy. The center of the whirlpool was called the eye of the energy storm. Because of the density of the energy, it would produce some natural treasures. What kind of evil spirits are they? Night Sorrow asked. They are humans. They don't have any aura of life. It is very likely that they are cultivators who died in the past. Their intelligence was extinguished because of the special environment. They can use battle techniques, the woman in white said. Then, the woman explained the situation in detail. Her name was Hailing. She was a cultivator from the Black-Yellow Great World and a member of the Black-Yellow City's Great Elder High family. She saw two evil spirits, both of which were evil monarchs. They could use battle techniques, and their battle strength was very strong. Night Sorrow pondered for a moment before saying, if it's two evil spirit overlords, we can still kill them. The question is it worth it? It's worth it. There are a lot of rootless trees around the eye of the storm. I only need one that is more than 10,000 years old. If you can get it, the rest will be yours. Besides, those skeletons have storage rings, so it's impossible that they don't have treasures. There's an evil spirit among them. I suspect that it's Yuan Daoren. Yuan Daoren is one of the earliest cultivators in the world of Samsara. Although he's not a giant yet, he's very famous. Human Sovereign. I don't know about the Human Sovereign. Tell me more about it, Night Sorrow said. Sizing up Night Sorrow, Hailing was a little stunned. As a senior cultivator, there were too few people who didn't know about the Human Sovereign realm. However, in order to cooperate with Night Sorrow, she told him everything. The Human Sovereign realm was a giant, and one of the best among the giants. The only one who could contend with him was the Bloodblade Lord. Many years ago, after the two fought for the heavenly artifact, their whereabouts were unknown. The Human Sovereign is a human, the most outstanding cultivator of the human race. That's why he's called the Human Sovereign Realm. He's the first giant of the human race and also the strongest. The Bloodblade Lord is a monster. I don't know what race he is, but the two secret techniques are very domineering. For example, the Human Sovereign Realm cultivates both chi and body. Even if he stands there without moving, the king can't hurt him. The Bloodblade Lord has the heavenly artifact, Bloodblade, so he's qualified to compete with the Human Sovereign Realm, Hailing explained to Night Sorrow. After listening to Hailing's explanation, Night Sorrow realized how outstanding the human sovereign realm was. His followers were naturally not simple. Perhaps they had the human sovereign's secret techniques. Then let's give it a try. If there's a chance, we'll go and collect it. If there's no chance, then there's nothing we can do, Night Sorrow said. Night Sorrow's words were equivalent to his agreement. Hai Ling opened her mouth and repeated the heavenly Tao oath. The reason he agreed was because Night Sorrow thought it was an opportunity. The area around the Eye of the Storm energy was rich with spiritual treasures of heaven and earth. Hai Ling only saw the rootless, and she didn't detect anything else. The rootless was already a supreme treasure. It could make the cultivator's meridians and dantian flexible and tough. It could be used to refine the best king elixir. The soft jade muscle elixir was an extremely rare material. Most importantly, the elixir could solve some problems with the meridians and dantian. Night Sorrow thought it might be of some help to the Qing Emperor. After reaching an agreement, Night Sorrow and Hai Ling flew towards the Eye of the Energy Storm. After flying for half a day, Hai Ling told Night Sorrow that they would reach the Eye of the Storm energy after another 10,000 miles. Night Sorrow stopped and set up a teleportation array. "What are you doing?" Hai Ling looked at Night Sorrow and asked. Night Sorrow glanced at Hai Ling. Night Sorrow didn't say anything. Then he set up an illusion array to hide the teleportation array. This is a teleportation array disk. It can be used to teleport without interference. Teleport here. If there's danger, it's up to you whether or not it can save your life. Night Sorrow took out a teleportation array disk and embedded it in the teleportation crystal in front of them. Then he threw it to Hai Ling. They didn't know each other before, and they didn't have any friendship. But Night Sorrow felt that since they were already teammates, if it could save her life, he should help her. Hai Ling nodded. Now she understood the purpose of the teleportation array in front of her. Hair. Then the two flew towards the Eye of the Storm energy. "Can you hold off an evil spirit?" Night Sorrow asked as they flew. "There's no way I can defeat it. At most, I can hold it off for a while." "It's mainly up to you," Hai Ling said. Night Sorrow stared at Hai Ling. This was a bit of a trap. She couldn't even hold off one evil spirit. "Aren't you strong? I called you here to see if you can do it. I only want one rootless." "That's the price for giving you the information," Hai Ling said. Night Sorrow didn't say anything. He felt that if there were more rootless and other resources near the Eye of the Energy Storm, it wouldn't be too much for Hai Ling to ask for one rootless for one piece of information. Rootless was a natural treasure. It was an alchemy material that grew in energy. Without a root, it would grow by absorbing special energy. After flying for a while, the two of them arrived at the area where the Eye of the Storm was located. From far away, Night Sorrow could already see the wonder of heaven and earth. It was an energy vortex that stood between the sky and the earth. Thick energy rippled in all directions. "It's here," Hai Ling said. Actually, Night Sorrow didn't need Hai Ling to say it. He knew that this was the Eye of the Energy Storm. "We'll talk about it after we deal with the evil spirits. I hope you can hold on," Night Sorrow said and flew forward. As soon as the two got close to the Eye of the Storm energy, two figures flew out. Evil spirits. Night Sorrow could tell that the two people who rushed out were evil spirits, not cultivators. As the name suggested, evil spirits were evil spirits. The eyes of the two people who rushed out were no longer human. They exuded a strong evil aura. "The one in the black robe, you come!" Hai Ling shouted at Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow knew that the one in the black robe should be the Emperor's follower, Yuan Daoist, that Hai Ling mentioned. He should be the stronger of the two evil spirits. Chapter 13:19. There was no other way. This time, Night Sorrow was the main target, so he had to bite this hard bone. If Hai Ling could bite it, she wouldn't have told him the news. Just as Hai Ling finished shouting, the two evil spirits also rushed forward. The energy on Night Sorrow's body fluctuated, and his clone appeared. The clone and the main body charged towards Yuan Daoist together. The other evil spirit's target was Hai Ling. Night Sorrow's reincarnation, and the long sword in Yuan Daoist's hand collided. Then, the energy burst out and collided. Night Sorrow's body was pushed back a few feet, and Yuan Daoist also retreated a few feet. Night Sorrow's heart trembled. This was the first time he was pushed back in a head-on fight. It was enough to see how tyrannical this evil spirit Yuan Daoist was. Night Sorrow's body flashed and once again fought with evil spirit Yuan Daoist. Yuan Daoist was not afraid of the recoil at all, and he was directly on top after being pushed back. Night Sorrow's two clones fought together to stabilize the situation and have time to observe Yuan Daoist. Evil spirit Yuan Daoist's body was full of evil energy. His dantian, tendons, and bones were all black. Night Sorrow felt that this was because some kind of energy had invaded and then caused a mutation. Night Sorrow fought while studying Yuan Daoist's shortcomings. Evil spirit Yuan Daoist's attack was extremely tyrannical, and his speed was fast. He was not easy to kill. While Night Sorrow was thinking, there was a cry of pain from the side. Hai Ling was seriously injured. Her left shoulder was slashed by the other evil spirit. Although she managed to block the attack with her scimitar, the slash still cut into her shoulder. If she hadn't blocked it in time, she would have been dismembered by the slash. The evil spirit's attack was not over. The evil spirit then kicked Hai Ling's dantian, sending her body flying. Tell my family for me that walking on the path of the strong is my dream. I have no regrets even if I fall. I have let them down. Hai Ling, who was kicked away, shouted, "Idiot, go!" Night Sorrow threw out a trap and kill array disc, trapping the evil spirit that wanted to catch up with Hai Ling and kill her. At the same time he shouted. He couldn't watch his teammates die and do nothing, even if they were temporary teammates. At this time, Hai Ling's dantian had been severely damaged, so she no longer had the ability to fight. However, she was still able to activate the array disc. She looked at Night Sorrow with a strange expression on her face as she was taken away by the transmission array disc. Seeing Hai Ling leave, Night Sorrow ate a lustrous golden pill and released the soul-extinguishing poison smoke. He knew that he would be in a predicament soon. Wanting to kill an evil Yuan Dao child in a frontal attack would be very difficult. Once that evil spirit broke through the death trap array disc, the pressure would increase. So, he had no choice but to use poison. After using the poison, Night Sorrow used afterimage body. He had to seize the opportunity to kill them. He had to defeat them one by one. He couldn't let the two evil spirits work together. At this time, Night Sorrow's main body and doppelganger were covered with lustrous golden light. The afterimage body was also covered with lustrous golden light. Because the afterimage body was condensed from Night Sorrow's energy, it had the medicinal properties of the lustrous golden pill. Night Sorrow was looking for an opportunity. After evil Yuan Dao child crazily attacked a few times, his condition suddenly declined. He was poisoned. Night Sorrow knew that evil Yuan Dao child was poisoned. It didn't matter if you were a human cultivator, an undead, or a demon beast. As long as you had spirit sea and consciousness, you would be affected. As soon as evil Yuan Dao child was affected by the poison, Night Sorrow's doppelganger and main body rushed towards him. The doppelganger directly attacked with Death Annihilation Slash. The Death Annihilation Slash brought out a black halo that wrapped around evil Yuan Dao child. Night Sorrow's doppelganger then pierced through his chest, blasting a big hole in his chest. Night Sorrow wanted to attack the head, but evil Yuan Dao child's long sword blocked there. Great Emperor Reincarnation Slash. Night Sorrow's main body roared. He waved his reincarnation slash and once again used his lost skill. The purple halo wrapped around evil Yuan Dao child, and Night Sorrow's reincarnation slash went out. After shaking off evil Yuan Dao child's long sword, Night Sorrow's reincarnation slash pierced through his forehead, shattering his spirit sea. Then, he turned around and blocked behind him. Because the other evil spirit that had broken through the trap and kill array had blasted a blade towards his back. With a muffled sound, Night Sorrow was sent flying. He had just used the Great Emperor Reincarnation Slash and was in a weakened state. After being sent flying, Night Sorrow spat out a mouthful of blood. Because the other party's strength was very strong. At this time, Night Sorrow's doppelganger blocked the evil spirit, giving his main body a chance to recover. After circulating the energy in his body and healing his injuries, Night Sorrow's main body once again rushed out and fought the remaining evil spirit with his doppelganger. Fortunately, Night Sorrow's doppelganger was still in peak condition. In addition, the soul-extinguishing poison smoke also had an effect on this evil spirit. After fighting for 15 minutes, Night Sorrow finally killed this evil spirit. After putting away the storage rings and weapons of the two evil spirits, Night Sorrow ate a healing pill and approached the eye of the energy storm. There were many skeletons around the eye of the storm. Their condition was a little worse than the two evil spirits that Night Sorrow had killed. After looking at them, Night Sorrow understood that after some time, these skeletons would also become evil spirits. This was because there was some evil energy within the energy vortex. At this time, Night Sorrow felt that something was wrong. His head was a little heavy, and the light emitted by his lustrous golden core was also suppressed. Night Sorrow, who had stimulated the 9 regions' origin power to protect his divine sea, looked into the energy vortex. He discovered that there was a skeleton-like stone inside the energy vortex that was emitting an evil aura. Night Sorrow understood that this evil stone was emitting an evil energy that attacked the soul. Without realizing it, one's soul would be corroded. Night Sorrow understood that he couldn't stay in this place for too long. Even if there were no evil spirits here, it was still very dangerous. The evil spirit was also an expert when it was alive. It was only because it was careless that it fell here. After putting away the storage rings on the skeletons, Night Sorrow looked at the rootless plants growing in the energy vortex. Rootless plants were top-quality alchemy materials. They could be used to refine the soft jade tendon pill that could change one's physique. At this time, several rootless plants were growing in the pure energy of the eye of the energy storm. Night Sorrow's body flashed and put the 6 or 7 plants into the space in the dragon cauldron, allowing the dragon cauldron to nourish them with energy. After looking again and confirming that he hadn't missed anything, Night Sorrow left in a flash. There was nothing else to discover here. The evil stone was a strange stone, but it was meaningless to him. On the other hand, he couldn't touch that thing as it didn't bring him any benefits. After leaving the vicinity of the eye of the storm, Night Sorrow meditated to recover. Then, he took out the teleportation array disc and teleported to the teleportation array he had set up. At this time, Hai Ling was healing in the illusion array. She had been slashed and evil energy had entered her body. Her injuries were very serious. The most serious was that her dantian had been kicked by the evil spirit, causing her to lose her combat strength. You came back too. There's nothing I can do about it. Those 2 evil spirits are too strong. It's useless even if you can withstand Taoist Yuan. I can't withstand the other evil spirit. It seems that I'm not fated to be able to change my dantian and meridians. Hai Ling sighed. What do you plan to do after you get the rootless plant? Night Sorrow asked. I'll eat it directly and strengthen my dantian and meridians. It's meaningless to talk about it now. Hai Ling was very disinterested. Chapter 13:20. It's too wasteful to eat it directly. You just want to change your dantian and meridians. I can refine the soft jade tendon pill. It's not a loss for you, Night Sorrow said as he took out the alchemy furnace. Update #soonest Night Sorrow planned to use his clone to refine the pill. His main body needed to heal and protect his clone. Seeing Night Sorrow take out the rootless pill, Hai Ling's eyes were filled with disbelief. She had been severely injured in the beginning. She felt that Night Sorrow alone would not be able to fight against 2 monarch-rank evil spirits. However, Hai Ling soon understood that Night Sorrow had a trump card that she did not know about. Otherwise, he would not have succeeded. Night Sorrow took out the highest grade of rootless grass and began to prepare. Fortunately, he had all kinds of supplementary materials in his collection over the years. Night Sorrow used 6 days to refine the soft jade tendon pill. The moment the pill was out of the furnace, the sky cracked and lightning appeared. Night Sorrow knew that this was a pill tribulation. Night Sorrow opened the alchemy furnace. Then, more than 10 spinning pills appeared in the sky to be baptized by the lightning tribulation. After 15 minutes, the sky closed and 15 soft jade tendon pills with lightning patterns floated in the sky. Night Sorrow waved his arm and kept the pills in the jade bottle. Lightning pattern soft jade tendon pill. Hai Ling was at the peak of Star King, so she naturally knew what it was. I can give you 1, Night Sorrow said. No, I want 3. I'll leave 2 for my grandfather and father, Hai Ling said. 1 or a 10,000-year-old rootless pill. You choose. Night Sorrow rejected directly. He had many people to take care of. He could not accept Hai Ling's exorbitant demand. You can refine it yourself. Why can't you give it to me? Hai Ling was unwilling to give up. Then I'll give you another choice. I can refine more, but there won't be any pill tribulation. So, I can give you 3 pills without lightning marks. As for whether you want 1 top-grade pill or 3 ordinary pills, you can choose for yourself, Yishan said after thinking for a moment. Then can you give me 1 with lightning patterns and 2 ordinary pills? Hai Ling was unwilling to give up and repeated her request. Okay. It's not that I'm stingy. The opportunity belongs to whoever gets it. 1 lightning pattern soft jade tendon pill and 2 ordinary soft jade tendon pills. Night Sorrow agreed. Night Sorrow then refined another cauldron of soft jade tendon pill and gave the 3 pills to Hai Ling. You saved me this time, so I owe you a favor, Hai Ling said after receiving the pill. It's nothing. At the very least, on this floor, we are teammates. I can't just watch my teammates die. This is a healing pill. It's also a top-grade pill. Take it and heal yourself. Night Sorrow gave Hai Ling another healing pill. He knew that Hai Ling's injuries were very serious. Hai Ling nodded and accepted the elixir. I have to go. There are still some things I have to do, Night Sorrow said. Is your harvest not enough? Why do you still want to fight? Hai Ling could not understand Night Sorrow's thoughts. I have to find a healing pill for my master. As long as I'm alive, I have to do it. It's safer here. Here's a trap and kill array disc for you. If you can't do it, run and hide in a safe place until the Heaven and Earth Pavilion closes. Night Sorrow took out an array disc and handed it to Hai Ling. After doing that, Night Sorrow stood up and told Hai Ling how to get out of the illusion array. Then, he walked out of the illusion array. If you're alive, come visit the Hai family in mysterious Yellow City. Hai Ling shouted at Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow waved his hand and set off on his journey again. This time, he only had one purpose in coming here, and that was to find Ming Dao. Although Ming Dao could not completely cure the Qing Emperor, it could guarantee that his life would not be in danger. Looking at Night Sorrow's back, Hai Ling knew that Night Sorrow had the ability to continue, but she could not. Although she was at the peak of the Star King realm and was good at speed, she was still incomparable to Night Sorrow. Besides, the soft jade tendon pill was enough for her. Night Sorrow continued to wander in this space. When he was resting, Night Sorrow opened the storage ring he had collected. There were a lot of resources in each storage ring. Because everyone who came to the Heaven and Earth Pavilion was in their original body, they usually carried things with them in case of emergencies. If they died, they would accept it. If their original body died, what was the use of resources? Therefore, everyone would equip their original body to the teeth. The resources in Yuan Daoist storage ring were very rich. Night Sorrow actually saw the Myriad Dao Tome, which was exactly the same as his own. After the level it was also blank. Night Sorrow understood that the level of the Myriad Dao Tome was the limit. The human sovereign should not have created the 9th level of the Myriad Dao Tome. In Shen Daozi's storage ring, there was nothing that Night Sorrow valued, but the resources were very rich. After all, the collection of an old monarch was very rich. On the 9th day, Night Sorrow found a teleportation array and entered the 22nd floor. Night Sorrow's heart was boiling and calm, and his fighting spirit was constantly rising. As time slowly passed, Night Sorrow broke through more and more floors. In the case of meeting opponents, he would meet at most a few people on each floor. Night Sorrow knew that there was a lot of space here. Everyone who came here for training was different. As Night Sorrow calmed himself down, he concocted a few more cauldrons of jade tendon bone pills. His family needed them, and so did the villains of the god-slaying squad. If he could help the people around him, he would. When Night Sorrow entered the 26th floor, he was immediately suppressed. It was full of astral winds and astral chi. Night Sorrow raised his protective energy shield and endured it. He did not understand what was going on. He quickly walked under the pressure of the astral chi and astral winds. He wanted to walk out of this strange circle because he would not be able to hold on for long. With his power of desolates exhausted, Night Sorrow tried to enter the space-time pagoda. However, he found that he couldn't. There were natural laws that blocked him from using spatial magical treasures. Tempering. Night Sorrow knew that this was tempering. If he could hold on, he would move on to the next floor. If he couldn't, then he would die. Next, Night Sorrow used his spatial energy to block. When the spatial energy was almost exhausted, Night Sorrow continued to use his void chi to block. Night Sorrow had calculated that if he used the 3 types of energy alternately, he would be able to withstand as much as a monarch. It could even be said that he surpassed a monarch. This was because when he used his void chi, he ate pills to recover his spatial and temporal energy. After using the 3 types of energy alternately for 2 rounds, Night Sorrow walked out of the vicious circle. If he didn't have any trump cards, he would die easily. Night Sorrow turned around and looked at the area filled with astral energy and astral winds. He felt a little emotional because this was too difficult. Not far ahead was the spatial tunnel. Night Sorrow knew that it was getting harder and harder, but he couldn't retreat. He had to move forward. After entering the spatial tunnel, Night Sorrow used his energy to protect himself. After exiting the spatial tunnel, Night Sorrow didn't find anything special. However, just as he let his guard down, his opponent came. A figure with a metallic glow appeared in front of Night Sorrow. Second update. Thank you for the unsealing of 4 and low yesterday. The website had been modified a little. The computer version could be viewed, and the mobile version could be viewed. If it's convenient, you can download the mobile version. It might be a little inconvenient for the time being, but you'll get used to it. You'll be more tolerant and understanding. Chapter 1321. Genius 1 second remember love go novels web. I'll bring you a wonderful novel to read. Gold man. This was not a human, but a metal life form. There were all kinds of strange things in the boundless world. Plants and minerals could achieve Tao. The gold man in front of him was a mineral that achieved Tao. The gold man's attack was fierce, and Night Sorrow could not take it head-on. In addition, he had not found the gold man's weakness. Night Sorrow used afterimage body. Then, his original body and clone separated to restrain the gold man. After fighting for a while, Night Sorrow realized that the gold man's body was tyrannical. It was unrealistic to cut the body. He could only attack the soul. If the body was strong, then the soul might be the weakness. After blasting out a time shockwave, Night Sorrow's original body and clone both used soul destruction slash. 2 dark purple crescent blades rushed toward the gold man's bald head. At this time, a golden light wave appeared on the gold man's head to block Night Sorrow's soul destruction slash. However, its attack also stopped. Obviously, the soul defense had a great impact on it. The gold man did not move, but Night Sorrow moved. Samsara and Space Splitter bombarded the gold man's body, destabilizing the energy in its body. Then, 2 dark purple crescent blades kept attacking. If he wanted to take down the gold man, he had to attack the soul. However, the gold man's soul defense was also very strong. Void Extreme Kill. Night Sorrow growled. His original body used Void Extreme Kill to stab at the gold man. Just now, he had used Space Revolving Dragon Kill twice. Several time shockwaves had not broken the gold man's defense. Now he planned to try using Void Extreme Kill, which had extremely strong penetrating power. Samsara had the ability to attack the soul, but the prerequisite was that it had to pierce the opponent's body. As the purple halo of Samsara exploded, a hole was melted in the gold man's chest. Samsara pierced all the way in. This was the dominance of the supreme attribute. At this time, Samsara, which had pierced into the gold man's body, emitted a special energy that rushed toward the spirit sea in the gold man's head. With the impact of this energy, the gold man's divine sea was shaken. At this moment, Night Sorrow's 2 soul destruction crescent moon slash broke through the gold man's soul defense and entered his head. At that moment, Night Sorrow discovered that there was a white crystal in the gold man's spirit sea. The crystal and its exterior were wrapped in golden energy. Break! With a low growl, Night Sorrow controlled one of the crescent blades to land on the white crystal, dispersing the golden energy on the crystal and inside it. The other crescent blade slashed wildly in the gold man's spiritual sea. In fact, there was no need for Night Sorrow's crescent blade to slash wildly. After Night Sorrow had shaken off the energy on the crystal, the gold man's eyes had lost their light and consciousness. What a great harvest! Night Sorrow knew that he had a great harvest. This gold man was a top-grade crafting material, spiritual Tao copper essence. Of course, Night Sorrow would not destroy this gold man. As long as he refined the crystal in the gold man's spirit sea, he would be able to control the gold man. This gold man's combat power was at the monarch level. Seeing that the gold man's chest had automatically recovered, Knight Sorrow felt that he should find a safe place to refine it. After flying for a while, Knight Sorrow entered the space-time treasure pagoda to refine the gold man. As soon as he refined it, Knight Sorrow discovered a problem. The secrets in the crystal were all natural patterns. If he did not study it thoroughly, he would not be able to make it recognize him as its master. However, he did not have the time. In the Heaven and Earth Pavilion, the gold man could not be counted on. Knight Sorrow shook his head helplessly. Knight Sorrow began to explore this space again. However, he did not find anything. After searching for half a month, he collected some ores. However, Knight Sorrow did not find any space tunnel or teleportation formation. He did not know how to enter the 28th floor. After 2 months, Knight Sorrow still did not find the opportunity to enter the 28th floor. On this day, Knight Sorrow set up a tent and was resting when a cultivator appeared. "No wonder I can't enter the 28th floor. It's because of you. There's no trigger condition." This old man attacked Knight Sorrow with his sword. The long sword was filled with vibrations of space energy. He did not hold back at all. Monarch! Knight Sorrow realized that his opponent was a monarch. Even if he was a monarch, he had to be a powerful one to enter the 27th floor. Knight Sorrow used Afterimage to dodge his opponent's attack. Then, he counterattacked. The two of them fought with speed. In an instant, they had exchanged hundreds of moves. / First 90 rounds of addition Soul Sword / After a head-on collision, the old man let out a low growl. Then, a solid sword was shot out from his spirit sea. Soul Attack Secret Skill. After countless battles, Knight Sorrow had seen Soul Defense secret skills. However, Soul Attack secret skills were rare. He understood that this was the reason why this monarch could reach the 27th floor. He was strong and had a Soul Attack secret skill. He had the ability to enter the 27th floor. Knight Sorrow was also good at soul attacks. He immediately used Soul Destruction / Crescent Blade and clashed with the Monarch Soul Sword Blade. However, Knight Sorrow was not as strong as this monarch. The Crescent Blade was not as strong as the Soul Sword Blade. After the Crescent Blade was blocked, the Soul Sword Blade continued to attack Knight Sorrow. However, Knight Sorrow's original body still had Soul Destruction / Crescent Blade. Knight Sorrow's 2 Crescent Blades blocked the Soul Sword Blade. Death Destruction / After breaking the opponent's Soul Secret Technique attack, Knight Sorrow's doppelganger flashed and directly used the Great Death Obliteration / After being surrounded by the rippling death halo, the old man let out a low growl. The halo on his head rippled and he struggled to break free from Knight Sorrow's Death Destruction / He used his long sword to block one of Knight Sorrow's clones. However, at this moment, Yi Shang's real body's Great Emperor Samsara / followed up. Yi Shang knew that his opponent was much stronger than him, both in terms of cultivation and soul power. He could not give his opponent a second chance to attack, nor could he give his opponent a chance to escape. When the old man appeared, he made it very clear. Knight Sorrow's existence prevented him from reaching the 28th floor. Similarly, this old man's existence prevented Knight Sorrow from reaching the 28th floor. Before the old man could react, Knight Sorrow's Samsara / arrived in front of him with a purple halo. The purple halo that could affect the soul engulfed this sovereign. Knight Sorrow's Samsara / entered the old man's forehead without any hindrance, piercing through his head and spirit sea. After killing his opponent, Knight Sorrow went forward to collect the storage ring and weapons. Knight Sorrow did not lack king weapons, but the members of the god-slaying team did. It would be good to take them back and give them to everyone. After Knight Sorrow collected the spoils of war, the mystic golden light on Knight Sorrow's arm moved. It turned into a protective shield and pulled Knight Sorrow into another space. The 28th floor. After checking that there was no danger, Knight Sorrow opened the old man's storage ring. A handwritten letter entered Knight Sorrow's vision. Chapter 1322. Genius 1 second remembers Love Go Novels Web. Bringing you interesting novels to read. Small say. The letter recorded some information about the Heaven and Earth Pavilion. Knight Sorrow didn't know about it, and even Tang Bo and the others didn't know about it. This was a letter from a predecessor, the one who saw the heavenly artifact. He had fallen, but he still had a clone outside. He entered the Heaven and Earth Pavilion and went through the 33rd floor. That meant that he didn't know how many floors there were in the Heaven and Earth Pavilion, but there were only 33 floors in total, and the 33rd floor was the top floor. The author of the letter saw the heavenly artifact on the 33rd floor, but he didn't get it. Most importantly, as long as he entered the 33rd floor, he could make a request to the Heaven and Earth Pavilion. If he could complete it, then the Heaven and Earth Pavilion would fulfill his request. The author of the letter reached the 33rd floor. He wanted the heavenly artifact, and the Heaven and Earth Pavilion gave it to him. However, he didn't pass the test and couldn't get it. 28th floor. 5 more floors. Knight Sorrow was excited. This information was very important to him. As long as he passed 5 more floors, he would have a chance to ask the Heaven and Earth Pavilion's artifact spirit for enlightenment. Hard work. Knight Sorrow knew that the next 5 floors wouldn't be easy. The higher the floor, the harder it would be. Of course, the risk was proportional to the reward. Then, Knight Sorrow looked at the Sovereign's collection. It was very rich. He reached the 27th floor. Apart from his previous collection, he also had a lot of rewards this time. However, these were all Knight Sorrow's now. Knight Sorrow also found the Soul Spirit Sword Chop book. After looking at the book, Knight Sorrow smiled. He already had the Soul Destruction Chop, so he naturally wouldn't choose to cultivate it. However, this Soul Spirit secret technique could be learned by others, and he didn't have to worry about the inheritance. Since he got it himself, he could teach it to whoever he wanted. After packing up, Knight Sorrow continued forward. As he moved forward, Knight Sorrow realized that this was a terrifying space. There were no large beasts, but there were groups of poisonous beasts. They were fast and poisonous. Knight Sorrow had secretive true body and the detoxification pill. Poisons that were fatal to ordinary cultivators were not a threat to him. However, finding the spatial passageway to the 29th floor was very difficult. After spending 2 months and dodging countless poisonous creatures, Knight Sorrow finally found the passageway to the 29th floor. After setting up a comprehensive defense, Knight Sorrow entered the 29th floor. However, Knight Sorrow didn't encounter any attacks and was rather safe. Knight Sorrow let out a sigh of relief, but it was only for a moment before an opponent appeared. It was a wind fire dragon. The wind fire dragon was extremely fast as it continuously attacked in the air. Wind blades and flames continuously bombarded Knight Sorrow. Facing the wind fire dragon that was extremely talented, Knight Sorrow went all out. While dodging with all his might, he released the spatial pagoda and 8 dragon cauldron and smashed them towards the wind fire dragon. The space-time pagoda and cauldron of 8 dragons were huge, so their smashing power was terrifying. A moment later, the wind fire dragon, which was so huge that it couldn't dodge, was smashed to pieces. Its scales and blood flew everywhere. The furious wind fire dragon continued to charge at Sorrow, its power even more explosive. Knight Sorrow's doppelganger and his doppelganger both activated the illusion array discs. After holding them in their hands, they quickly left the battlefield. However, their soul power was still controlling the 2 treasures to attack the wind fire dragon. Since they couldn't see Knight Sorrow, the wind fire dragon attacked with a large area. Wind blades, flames, tail sweeps, etc. They wanted to find Knight Sorrow. The wind fire dragon's method was very effective. Once Knight Sorrow's illusion array was attacked by the energy, ripples would appear and he would be discovered by the wind fire dragon. Luckily, Knight Sorrow's speed was quite fast. After being discovered, he instantly teleported away, causing the wind fire dragon's violent attacks to miss. The wind fire dragon was quite annoyed because it could only passively take a beating. It couldn't do anything to Knight Sorrow. After fighting for 2 hours, the wind fire dragon's aura became much weaker. This was because it had been continuously attacking with high intensity, and it had also been heavily damaged by the spatial pagoda and 8 dragon cauldron. Since it couldn't defeat Knight Sorrow, the wind fire dragon planned to retreat. However, Knight Sorrow was unwilling to do so. It had been madly attacking for 2 hours, and now it wanted to give up? Knight Sorrow chased after him from behind, and the 2 Dharma treasures constantly bombarded each other. After 2 hours of chasing, the wind fire dragon couldn't hold on any longer. Even though it had a lot of life force, it couldn't withstand Knight Sorrow's attacks for 4 hours. Its life force had already been depleted, and it was about to die. Sorry. This is the way of the world. I don't want you to suffer, so I'll send you off. Night Sorrow's body flashed, and he appeared in front of the Wind Fire Dragon. With a single attack, he pierced through the Wind Fire Dragon's forehead, killing it. The Wind Fire Dragon wasn't a pure dragon, but its essence blood was all treasures. It had been losing normal blood, but the precious essence blood and heart blood were still there. After the Wind Fire Dragon died, Night Sorrow quickly put the Wind Fire Dragon's corpse into the 8-dragon cauldron because he could feel the Wind Fire Dragon's energy dissipating. Tang Bo and Tang Yi had emphasized a few times that the lives that died in the Heaven and Earth Pavilion were nourishment for the Heaven and Earth Pavilion. Since they were nourishment, their energy and essence would be taken away. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Night Sorrow naturally wouldn't let the Wind Fire Dragon's corpse lose its energy, so he immediately put it into the 8-dragon cauldron. Just as Night Sorrow put away the Wind Fire Dragon, a spatial tunnel appeared not too far away from Night Sorrow. Looking at the spatial tunnel, Night Sorrow understood that the Wind Fire Dragon was the guard of the 29th level. If he could kill it, he would be able to enter the 30th level. If he couldn't, then he would end up in the Wind Fire Dragon's stomach. After Night Sorrow consumed the Life Spirit Fluid and Holy Spirit Fluid to recover, he entered the spatial passageway after setting up a comprehensive defense. This was a special world. The spirit chi was extremely dense, and it was filled with peace and serenity. This peace and serenity calmed down Night Sorrow's restless heart. Night Sorrow tried to return to the 8-dragon cauldron, and he was able to enter it. After entering the 20th level, Night Sorrow could no longer enter spatial treasures, which meant that he couldn't avoid battles. Now that he could, Night Sorrow was very happy. He entered the 8-dragon cauldron and started to deal with the Wind Fire Dragon's corpse. The dragon's body was full of treasures, and they were all top-grade materials for refining pills and equipment. Night Sorrow used an hour to deal with it. After brewing a pot of tea and resting for a while, Night Sorrow started to explore the 30th level. There were no high-level beasts in the 30th level, but there were many pills and materials, and they were all of the king grade. Night Sorrow collected them as he explored. He felt that the 30th level was the true journey of opportunities, and cultivators would be rich once they came here. In a special environment, Night Sorrow saw soul cultivation liquid and soul cultivation tea. These were treasures for sovereigns. Night Sorrow still had a stock of soul cultivation liquid, but he didn't have much of it. However, there seemed to be a limit. After Night Sorrow collected 9 drops of soul cultivation liquid from the inverted stalactite, he stopped producing soul cultivation liquid. Chapter 13:23. After that, Night Sorrow collected the soul-nurturing tea. His wives could not use the soul-nurturing liquid, but they could consume the soul-nurturing tea. It could increase their soul power and cultivation. After collecting the soul-nurturing tea, Night Sorrow continued to walk around the 30th floor. He knew that this was a chance for him to rest and recuperate. After 2 more floors, he would be able to enter the final floor, the 33rd floor. Night Sorrow's path on the 30th floor changed. He did not find the opportunity to enter the 31st floor. Night Sorrow felt that he did not find the key point. If he did, he would naturally enter the 31st floor. After a month, the mysterious golden light on Night Sorrow's arm changed and wrapped around Night Sorrow. There was a time limit. Night Sorrow understood that the 30th floor was a month. When the time was up, he could enter the next floor. At this time, the mysterious golden light began to pull Night Sorrow into another space. The 31st floor was like a large palace. However, the moment Night Sorrow entered, a strong pressure appeared. The pressure attacked Night Sorrow. It was an attack on Night Sorrow's soul. At this time, Night Sorrow could not avoid it. He could only sit down cross-legged and endure the pressure. The pressure continued to suppress Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow knew that this was what he could endure. If he could not, his consciousness would be attacked and he would become an idiot. If it was serious, his spirit ocean would be shattered. After activating his light of virtue to resist the pressure, Night Sorrow endured it. 7 days, 10 days, and on the 21st day, the pressure disappeared. A spatial tunnel appeared in the middle of the palace. A test. This was a pure test. Night Sorrow understood that before the 30th floor of the Heaven and Earth Pavilion, danger and opportunity coexisted. The 30th floor was a pure reward. Now it was a pure test. After recovering to his best state, Night Sorrow entered the spatial tunnel. As the energy rotated, the environment and space around Night Sorrow changed. Then, he appeared in another palace. The 32nd floor. After entering the 32nd level, Night Sorrow had already made his preparations. This was the final test to enter the 33rd heaven. After passing this test, he would be able to know whether or not there was an enlightened Tao. If there was, then it would depend on his ability. If there wasn't, then this would be a pure experience. Just as Night Sorrow was preparing, the test arrived. Energy pressure, willpower pressure, and soul pressure rolled over. Overall suppression was much more terrifying than the 31st floor. Monarch rank. Energy oppression was monarch rank. Will oppression was monarch rank, and soul oppression was monarch rank. This was a comprehensive monarch rank oppression test. Night Sorrow used a shockwave in his protective barrier, which could reduce the consumption of energy. Then, he used the space-time willpower to resist the pressure from the Heaven and Earth Pavilion's mixed willpower. In response to the soul suppression, Night Sorrow activated the soul orb. While defending his soul, he also activated the golden light of virtue. The pressure was great, and Night Sorrow was bearing it all. After enduring for 2 hours, Night Sorrow's spatial energy and power of desolates were more than half depleted. He planned to enter the spatial treasure with his real body and use his clone to resist. However, he realized that there were restrictions again. This meant that he could not enter the spatial treasure and had to use his real body to resist. In such a situation, replenishment was more important. Night Sorrow casually took out resources to replenish his consumption. However, Night Sorrow realized that he could not communicate with the spatial ring under the restrictions of the Heaven and Earth law. Without any external interference, Night Sorrow understood what was going on. He could not take advantage of the situation. He had to rely on his own strength to avoid all external forces. In such a situation, Night Sorrow had to make arrangements. He could not use only one type of energy. He had to use 3 types of energy alternately. This way he might be able to withstand it. Looking at the original chapter, Night Sorrow's soul power was now at the monarch rank. With the golden light of virtue weakening the pressure, his soul defense was possible. As for the comprehension of willpower, Night Sorrow's space-time willpower and nihility willpower were interchangeable. He also had the monarch rank resistance. Night Sorrow was worried about his own energy. Although his time and space willpower were at the advanced king rank, there was still a gap between them and the monarch rank. He could make up for it with his wisdom and usage. The pressure was endless. The energy within the Heaven and Earth Pavilion was like a tidal wave that constantly battered Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow was like a reef that resisted the waves. No matter how ferocious the waves were, he would remain unmoved. After a day, Night Sorrow's condition had deteriorated. However, his fighting spirit was high. He believed that if other monarchs could do it, he could do it too. Since the Heaven Masters were not allowed to enter, there would be no Heaven Master level test. After 2 days, Night Sorrow's condition was low. With a low roar, Night Sorrow activated his battle spirit. The battle spirit could not weaken the pressure from the Heaven and Earth Pavilion, but it could improve Night Sorrow's condition. Time slipped away slowly. The energy in Night Sorrow's body was decreasing. No matter how he planned to use it, the consumption was still there. His soul power was also greatly consumed because he had been constantly activating his energy to resist the pressure from the Heaven and Earth Pavilion's willpower. Night Sorrow felt that he could not take it anymore. He had done everything he could, but the test here was too difficult. He could not obtain the path of enlightenment not because he did not work hard enough, but because the pressure from the Heaven and Earth Pavilion was not something he could withstand. If he could not withstand it, he would die. Night Sorrow did not regret dying. Some things had to be done even if he knew that he would die. This was perseverance and faith. It was a quality that one could not lose. After he thought things through, Yishan became much more at ease. His face, which had been contorted with all his might, became much calmer. Ask the heart. Night Sorrow asked his own heart. In the past years, he had worked hard, fought, and never gave up on his faith. He had a clear conscience. He did not let himself down. Night Sorrow also understood what he had always wanted. It was to charge towards the path of an expert. It was to protect his family, his loved ones, and the 9-domain world. Even if he failed, he would not regret it. Come. Night Sorrow was very calm. As Night Sorrow comprehended his state of mind, his weakened soul power once again erupted with potential. It even had a faint golden light. Enlightenment and awakening were cultivation. It was the cultivation of one's state of mind and soul. After comprehending, Night Sorrow's soul power had a holy light. At this moment, the nine-domain world was also filled with golden light. Accompanied by Yi Qingyan, the Qing Emperor, who was drinking tea by the lake in the nine-domain world city in the sky, stopped. Qingyan, your father has made great achievements again. The Qing Emperor looked at the golden light in the sky and said, Grandmaster, my father is not cultivating. He has gone to the Xuanhuan Great World. Yi Qingyan said, You don't understand. Cultivation is not necessarily cultivation of energy. Your father is now a virtuous saint. This light is the virtuous golden light. In the nine-domain world, if your father says that the river flows backward, the river will flow backward. If your father says that the sun and the moon have no light, there will be no light in this world. The Qing Emperor said. He was very pleased with his disciple's achievement. This was an unimaginable realm of cultivation of mind and morality. Chapter 13:24. Yi Qingyan was stunned because she didn't understand. Your father used to be a body of merit in the nine-domain world, and he contributed a lot to the nine-domain world. He also paid attention to his cultivation, and he was very strict with himself. Not only did the nine-domain world's origin acknowledge him, but the heavenly Tao also acknowledged him. However, he's not in a good situation now, the Qing Emperor said. What's going on? At this moment, Misty Rain and Jun Xuanji also arrived. Some insights can only be gained during times of crisis, when one is facing everything calmly. It can even be said that one can only gain insights when one is on the brink of death. Let's go to the heaven-sealing Great Hall to take a look. After thinking of some things, the Cyan Emperor was somewhat anxious. After arriving at the heaven-sealing Great Hall, they didn't see Night Sorrow. At this moment, Night Sorrow's clone in the heaven-sealing Great Hall was affected by his original body and was also gaining enlightenment. They decided to wait here. The Qing Emperor was worried about Night Sorrow. He knew that some enlightenment could only be gained at the end of one's life. Now that the golden light of merit was about to appear in the nine-domain world, it could be a good thing or a bad thing. In the 30th heaven of the Heaven and Earth Pavilion, Night Sorrow's face was calm. If one looked carefully, one could even see a calm smile on his face. Just as they were talking, the pressure on Night Sorrow disappeared, and the Great Hall became calm again. The golden light of profound yellow wrapped around and pulled Night Sorrow to the next level again. One day later, Night Sorrow opened his eyes. It was still a great hall, but it was much more simple and solemn. A mysterious aura surrounded the hall, and a man stood in the middle of the hall with his hands behind his back. Night Sorrow stood up, and the man also turned around. Countless years have passed, and you're the third person to enter the 33rd heaven. The first two were sovereigns, and they were invincible sovereigns. You're not bad to be able to reach here. The man in golden armor with sword-like eyebrows and starry eyes said to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow greets Senior, Night Sorrow said as he bowed. Virtuous Merit Saint. It's a pity that you are not a member of our Black-Yellow Great Worlds World Group. Still, I am very happy to see a genius like you. The man nodded at Night Sorrow, his eyes filled with praise. Night Sorrow found that the origin of the Black-Yellow Great World and the origin of the world of Samsara were completely different in aura. The origin of the world of Samsara had an oppressive and magnificent aura, while the origin of the Black-Yellow Great World had a thick and sharp chi power. Don't speak first. This lord set up the Heaven and Earth Pavilions test for the sake of nurturing some geniuses and destroying some mediocre geniuses. You are a genius. If you stop now, the rewards this time around would be yours. But if you speak, you have to follow the rules. No one can change this, not even this lord. The source energy of the world of reincarnation spoke. Thank you for your reminder, Senior. Night Sorrow is not here for resources, nor for opportunities. I am here to solve a problem in my heart. If I can get what I want, I am willing to keep everything I have gained this time, Night Sorrow said. It's a good thing for young people to have ambitions, but there is a limit. You are young and have a body of merit. You are blessed by the heavenly Tao. If you keep going steadily, you will achieve great things. Why do you have to risk your life? As a cultivator, you need to have the courage to risk your life. But you also need to know when to stop. The two geniuses who entered the 33rd floor all wanted the Heavenly Tao artifact. Unfortunately, without exception, both of them died here. The Heavenly Tao artifact is not that easy to obtain, said the origin of the black-yellow great world. I am not here for the Heavenly Tao artifact. I am here for a material. Night Sorrow knew that the origin of the black-yellow great world had misunderstood. It might know about the black-yellow great world, but it did not know about the world of samsara. What material? Asked the origin of the black-yellow great world after being stunned. The enlightened Tao. The enlightened Tao that can repair a cultivator's dantian and meridians, said Night Sorrow. You are fine, but you are asking for the enlightened Tao. It seems that you are doing it for someone else, said the origin of the black-yellow great world after sizing up Night Sorrow. To save someone. To save my master. Night Sorrow then told the origin of his situation. I understand. But this heaven and earth pavilion has its own rules. Whether you are asking for the Heavenly Tao artifact or a spiritual stone, the test is the same. There is a 90% chance of death. You might not even have a chance, said the origin of the black-yellow great world. There are some things that must be done. If I miss it because my belief is not firm enough or because I am not brave enough, then I will not be able to face myself. Thank you for your advice, Senior, said Night Sorrow. I don't have the enlightened Tao here, but I do have a heavenly Tao. The effect of a leaf is equivalent to the enlightened Tao. The origin of the black-yellow great world looked at Night Sorrow and gave him the answer. Then this junior will ask for a leaf of the heavenly Tao. Night Sorrow's attitude was firm. He did not ask for a great harvest. He only wanted to solve the problem of the Qing Emperor. Firm attitude. But there are some things that I still have to say. You are not from the black-yellow great world. The chances of the Heaven and Earth Pavilion are for the cultivators of the black-yellow great world. For those from other worlds, I will also give them a chance, but the difficulty will be higher. I did not make things difficult for you because you have a body of merit. But now, I have a request. The origin of the black-yellow great world looked at Night Sorrow and said, Square root original first. Post, Senior. Night Sorrow came here according to the rules of the Heaven and Earth Pavilion. Please make an exception. Night Sorrow is willing to accept the test. Night Sorrow's heart skipped a beat. Some of the disadvantages of not being a cultivator of the black-yellow great world still appeared. Rules? I can give you a chance to accept the rules of the Heaven and Earth Pavilion's test. I can also not give you a chance. I can't kill you. That will harm my own fate. Can I at least send you out? The origin of the black-yellow great world looked at Night Sorrow and snorted. Senior, Night Sorrow is young and inexperienced. I'm afraid I can't fulfill your request. Night Sorrow bowed and said, That's another matter. That's another matter. You've intentionally suppressed your own source energy. However, there's nothing in this Heaven and Earth Pavilion that can hide from me. You're the Realm Lord and you're the supreme source energy. Besides, there's another source energy in your body. If I'm not wrong, it should be the source energy of the world of reincarnation. He should have told you something. The source energy of the Shenhuang Great World spoke. Night Sorrow did not say a word. Because it was the truth. Now I will give you a choice. If you agree to one of my conditions, the Heavenly Tao will reward you. In addition, if you pass the test, I will give you an opportunity. Whether you can get it depends on your ability. The origin of the black-yellow great world said, Senior, is this appropriate? I'm just following the rules. Night Sorrow was a little helpless. He could not give up the enlightened Tao, which was the current heavenly Tao. But he did not want to be bound. Rules? Not to mention the Heaven and Earth Pavilion, even in the black-yellow great world, I am the rule. You can only choose one. The origin of the black-yellow great world was very strong. It directly cut off Night Sorrow's escape route. Senior, please tell me your conditions. I'll think about it. Night Sorrow said. Second watch. Chapter 1325. Unseal. When the Shenhuang world is destroyed, come and help me. Take my origin and give me a chance to develop again, said the origin of the Shenhuang world. How do I help you? Knight Sorrow would not agree to other people's requests. Once he agreed, he would do his best. It's very simple. You have the supreme attribute and so does your world. Your supreme attribute is new, so you still have a long life. But I don't. When the time comes, I will need you to protect my origin from being destroyed. After a period of protection, I will naturally continue to reproduce and return to my current state. What you need to do is to protect me. Of course, you will be the benefactor of the world of samsara at that time, and you will also receive a lot of benefits, said the origin of the Shenhuang world. Okay, I'll take it. As long as I'm still alive, said Knight Sorrow. You're right. That's right. First of all, you've got to stay alive. That's because the next stage is going to be extremely difficult. There have been 2 geniuses who had made it here in the past. However, both of them had fallen. This rule was set by your lord a long time ago, and so was the test. As for whether or not you can clear it, that's all up to you. As for the outcome, your lord will leave it to the heavens. The source of Shenhuang world spoke up. Then let's do it. Yi Shang said. Okay, then it's up to you. Go to sleep. The origin of the Shenhuang world waved his sleeve and the energy in the hall shrouded Knight Sorrow. After being shrouded by the energy, Knight Sorrow entered a strange state. In Zhuyuan village, Knight Sorrow went out with Eben on his back. Brother Knight Sorrow, I want a rabbit. Brother Knight Sorrow, I want a bear's tooth to make a necklace. Knight Sorrow nodded to the children of Zhuyuan village and said, Wait for me. I will do it. Day after day, Papa Gu grew old. Knight Sorrow got married and had children. He also grew old gradually. When he was so old that he could not move, Knight Sorrow asked himself if he would have a different life if he had strongly requested Papa Gu to go out and cultivate. In Zhuyuan village, Knight Sorrow went out with Eben on his back. Knight Sorrow, bring a big guy back to go with the wine. Uncle Nyo's good wine is waiting for you. Uncle Nyo of Zhuyuan village shouted to Knight Sorrow. Knight Sorrow hunted the black scale beast and brought it back to the village. Knight Sorrow told Papa Gu again. And Papa Gu agreed with Uncle Nyo. After countless trials and tribulations, Knight Sorrow finally made it to the medicinal valley. However, under the threat of Qin Hai and Qin Shan, he retreated. In the end, he became a guard at a medicinal shop. He only managed to cultivate to the core formation stage. His longevity was over, and he sat in the mansion he had earned. He felt that he had not resisted. If he had persisted in the past, perhaps his life would have been different. Zhuyuan. Life after life was placed in front of him. But all of them had flaws. Life was full of different forms. Life after life. At this moment, Knight Sorrow was already a monarch. When he saw his opponents coming, he could not resist. Sikong Chuyu fell. Aoi fell. His parents fell. Even Qing Yen fell in his arms. When Qing Yen touched her wound and said, Father, I'm in pain, Knight Sorrow, who never cried, cried. What did he want all these years? What did he want? To protect his family and the people around him. Why couldn't he do it? With the shouts, Knight Sorrow understood one thing. If he wanted to protect his family and his family, he had to be invincible. His combat power was unparalleled. Knight Sorrow opened his eyes. After wiping the corners of his eyes, he bowed to the origin of the Xuanhuan Great World. Thank you, Senior. It seems that you really understand and understand. This is the illusion of life. There are 100 lives. If you don't wake up after 100 lives and don't understand your flaws, you won't wake up again. Your soul will scatter and become nourishment for the pavilion of heaven and earth. Only by understanding your shortcomings can you break the illusion of life. Actually, I've seen the 100 lives in your inner world. You cultivate your heart and morals. You don't have any desires or fights. You are a perfect human. However, you lack a spirit. The spirit to go against the heavens. Only by being invincible and having unparalleled combat power can you give the people around you a sense of security, said the origin of the Xuanhuan Great World. Knight Sorrow understands. I understand a life without action and a life without regrets. Therefore, I know what I should do in the future, said Knight Sorrow. Congratulations. Since the formation of the Xuanhuan Great World, you are the only practitioner who has passed the test of the 33 levels of heaven. Although you are not from the Xuanhuan world group, I'm still happy for you. The origin of the Xuanhuan Great World nodded to Night Sorrow. Then, the origin of the Xuanhuan Great World waved his hand. A strand of energy wrapped around a 7-leaf plant appeared. This is the way of heaven. Its effect is far beyond the way of enlightenment. 1 leaf can kill a person and turn him into a skeleton. In your master's case, 1 leaf is enough. But don't waste it. You cultivate your body. If you can make further progress in the future, you can use it to cultivate your body. It's an amazing material. There is no way of heaven in the world anymore, said the origin of the Xuanhuan Great World. All for me, said Night Sorrow. I said I'll give you double the reward. Are you going to ask for something else? If so, you can only take 1 leaf of the way of heaven, said the origin of the Xuanhuan Great World. Then it's him. So what if it's a divine weapon of heaven? It's an external object after all. Strength is the most important thing, said Night Sorrow. That's right. The origin of the world of samsara should have told you something. It should also help you. If you have any difficulties in the future and need my help, you can come to the Heaven and Earth Pavilion, said the origin of the Xuanhuan Great World. At the same time, it handed the way of heaven to Night Sorrow. The way of heaven needs the power of the world's origin to grow. It will never wither. Take good care of it. Night Sorrow nodded. He was very happy. With the way of heaven in his hand, Night Sorrow no longer had to worry about the Qing Emperor's life. Young man, you've completed the trial of the Heaven and Earth Pavilion perfectly. It's a perfect journey. The origin of the Xuanhuan Great World congratulated Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow also bowed to the origin of the Xuanhuan Great World. He was very grateful. Night Sorrow had never lacked gratitude. The origin of the Xuanhuan Great World nodded to Night Sorrow. Then it waved its arm. Night Sorrow felt the space-time change. When he reappeared, he was in the void outside the Heaven and Earth Pavilion. There were other figures in the void. They were all sent out by the Heaven and Earth Pavilion. At this time, there was another fight in the sky. There were people who were at a disadvantage. Now that they met again, how could they not kill? Tang Bo and Tang Yi flew to Night Sorrow's side. It's good that you're safe and sound. It's so fast this time. In the past it would take at least 10 years. This time, it hasn't even been 3 years, Tang Yi muttered. At this time, Junhua and Hai Ling also came to Night Sorrow's side. Night Sorrow, I, Hai Ling, formally invite you to visit the Sea King's mansion. Hai Ling looked at Night Sorrow and said, Thank you. But it will be a little later. I have to deal with another matter first. Brother Jun, can you take me to Wuling Mountain later? Night Sorrow looked at Junhua. Say it. Chapter 1326. Unseal? Okay, when? Junhua was stunned for a moment. As soon as possible. Can we do it now? Night Sorrow asked. Tang Bo and Tang Yi didn't understand why Night Sorrow suddenly wanted to go to Wuling Mountain, but the two of them expressed that they were willing to accompany Night Sorrow. But at this moment, a saber aura charged towards Night Sorrow. It was a black metal man. Puppet. Night Sorrow knew that it was a puppet of the celestial sect. Now that it was really here to assassinate him, it was merciless. The main reason was that fighting was not prohibited here. Courting death. Datura, who had received a message from his subordinate, came to pick up Night Sorrow. When he saw this scene as soon as he arrived, he was furious. He rushed out and fought with the puppet controlled by Elder Jia of the Celestial Sect. The puppet of the Sky Pillar Sect was powerful because the internal formation could produce destructive energy, so its combat power was tyrannical. However, what kind of combat power did Datura have now? He could kill other Sky Pillars, so he suppressed this Sky Pillar level puppet and forced it to retreat. In the end, he used the Death Destruction Slash and directly enveloped the black puppet. Then, he slashed the black puppet's head. At this moment, the puppet stopped moving. A figure appeared and spat out blood as he flew backward. This person was Elder Jia. Datura didn't cut through the puppet's defense just now, but he destroyed the formation inside the puppet. Elder Jia was also injured. The puppet was shaken until it couldn't operate properly. Elder Jia naturally had to escape, or he would be killed inside. However, Elder Jia couldn't escape. Without the puppet, he was just a monarch. Datura was one of the best among the sky pillars, let alone a monarch. She didn't even use her ultimate move. She chased after Elder Jia and killed him with 2 slashes. Datura put away Elder Jia's storage ring and puppet. Then he looked at Night Sorrow. I told you to wait for me. Why didn't you behave? Hee, I just came out as well. You came quickly, Night Sorrow said with a smile. Then come back with me. Datura said. Wait for a moment. I've been asked by someone to take care of some matters. After that, I'll go back. Night Sorrow said. He wanted to take care of Jun Yunan's matter. Then I'll go with you. Datura was now worried about Night Sorrow. There were too many people who wanted to kill Night Sorrow. Then, Night Sorrow, Datura, Tang Bo, and Tang Yi went to the teleportation formation in the Xianhuang city and went directly to Mount Wuling. Brother Yi. Who are you planning to meet? I can introduce you. After exiting the teleportation array, Junhua looked at Night Sorrow. I wonder if Brother Jun knows someone called Jun Yunan? Night Sorrow suddenly remembered that Jun Yunan and Junhua were both surnamed Jun. He could ask Junhua. If there was news, he didn't have to go to Mount Wuling officially. Jun Yunan. How do you know this name? After hearing Night Sorrow's words, Junhua was stunned. I saw his skeleton in the pavilion of heaven and earth. He asked me to help him with something. I want to see his wife, Night Sorrow said. Brother Yi, I won't hide it from you. Jun Yunan is my uncle. It's difficult for him to see my aunt. After my uncle's death, my aunt hasn't seen any guests for 3 million years. The Mountain Master doesn't allow anyone to disturb her. Junhua said. The great ancestor of the Jun family was an elder of the Mount Wuling. He had a good relationship with the Mount Wuling Master. So Jun Yunan married the Mount Wuling Master's daughter. As for Junhua, he was a junior who was valued by the Mount Wuling Master and was taken in as a disciple. Of course, their seniority was different. First, it was the official version. Second, the other versions were all pirated versions. Thank you, Brother Jun. Night Sorrow cupped his hands to Junhua. Then Junhua took Night Sorrow and the others to a yard to rest. He went to report. Actually, even if you don't report, someone will come. Datura asked. The Mount Wuling Master was a top force. They had a powerful figure. Her arrival would be sensed by them and they would come soon. Night Sorrow then told Datura what happened. While they were talking, a tall and sturdy man appeared in front of the yard. You are? The tall and sturdy man looked at Datura with suspicion. Datura from the dark abyss in the world of samsara. I'm here to accompany a friend. Datura looked at the man and said his identity. The man in front of him was a powerful figure. I'm the Mount Wuling Master. I didn't know that the Dark Dominator would come. Sorry for not coming out to meet you. The Mount Wuling Master cupped his hands to Datura. Then they sat down in the yard. Under the Mount Wuling Master's inquiry, Night Sorrow told him his purpose. Alas! Jun Yunan was my son-in-law. Unfortunately, he was poisoned and there was no cure. He could only go to the pavilion of heaven and earth to try his luck. But he still died. The Mount Wuling Master sighed. After a while, Junhua appeared with a woman with white hair who didn't look old at all. After entering the yard, the woman first greeted the Mount Wuling Master and then said to Night Sorrow and the others, I'm Jun Yunan's wife. It's like this. When I entered the Heaven and Earth Pavilion this time, I went to the place where Senior Jun fell. I've already buried him. This is his storage ring. After this junior opened it, I found out about his last words. This junior didn't touch any resources and only learned Senior Jun's afterimage. What he wanted the most was a piece of Thunder Core iron that he obtained. He hoped that I could bring it back so that Senior could forge a suitable weapon for it. Yi Shang took out Jun Yunan's storage ring and handed it to the white-haired woman. He missed me before he died. Yunan, I should have gone with you. The white-haired woman's voice was choked with sobs. At the same time, she took the storage ring. My condolences. Now, Senior Jun's wish has been fulfilled. Night Sorrow said. The white-haired woman took out a piece of purple ore from the storage ring. Then, she handed Jun Yunan's storage ring to Night Sorrow. I know him. His last words were for you to bring the Thunder Core Iron back. These resources must be a gift to you. Even if you didn't come, no one would know and no one would say anything about you. Also, I'll remember your kindness for burying my late husband. Senior, you're too kind. Knight Sorrow shook his head. He felt that Jun Yunan meant to give the resources to him, but it was more appropriate for him to leave it to someone else. Young man, take it. You entered the pavilion of heaven and earth for opportunities. This is also an opportunity. The Mount Wuling master said. Kind of. I learned Senior Jun's residual shadow body. It's already an opportunity. Knight Sorrow said. You're a good young man. Let's skip the formalities. The Mount Wuling villa owes you a favor. The Mount Wuling master said. After the matter was settled, Knight Sorrow planned to leave. He still had to deal with the Qing Emperor's matter. The Mount Wuling master sent Dachura and Knight Sorrow to the teleportation formation. Brother Tang, Sister Tang, Knight Sorrow still has something to do. I'll visit you another day. After arriving at the Black-Yellow City and exiting the teleportation formation, Knight Sorrow cupped his hands in front of his chest to Tang Bo and Tang Yi. Speak. Chapter 1327. Unsealed Words. Don't. Why don't you stay for a few more days? Tang Bo was getting anxious. Brother Tang, I'll definitely come when I have time. This time, I've found the elixir and I'm in a hurry to go back and treat Master, Knight Sorrow said. In that case, I won't keep you. Just come when you have time, Tang Bo said after hearing Knight Sorrow's words. All right, I'll be waiting for Brother Tang and Senior Sister Tang at the Nine Chong Pagoda, Knight Sorrow said to Tang Bo and Tang Yi. Tang Bo and Tang Yi both nodded. They both understood that Knight Sorrow was indeed in a hurry. I was going to invite you to the Sea King Palace as a guest, but you have urgent matters to attend to, so I can't keep you. Hai Ling also came. Friends don't last forever. There will be plenty of opportunities in the future. Knight Sorrow cupped his hands at Hai Ling. Hai Ling nodded. If you need help, you can come to me. After cupping his hands at them again, Knight Sorrow and Dachura teleported to Samsara City and then to the Nine Chong Pagoda again. Did it work? Dachura asked at this time. Yes, we did. This time we gained a lot. Knight Sorrow told Dachura about this time's harvest. Heavenly Tao? I've never heard of it, but the origin of the bound of universe won't lie. It should work. Dachura was also very happy. For many years, the Dark Abyss and the Qing Emperor's dynasty had been at war. They were rivals, but not enemies. She didn't want the Qing Emperor to fall. Most importantly, Dachura knew that Knight Sorrow had always blamed himself in his heart. If this problem was not solved, it would always be a knot in his heart. Ah Luo, you've worked hard during this time. Knight Sorrow looked at Dachura and said. There's no need for such words between us. The situation is stable now, but it's a bit stifling. Now that you're back, you should see how to deal with it. We have to open up the situation. They're too despicable, Dachura said. All right, I plan to go to Seven Night City. Luo, are you coming? Knight Sorrow asked. I won't go. Let the Qing Emperor have some peace. He doesn't want others to see him now. He is the Qing Emperor, Dachura said. Knight Sorrow nodded and sent Dachura to the teleportation circle with Summer City, who had discovered his return. Uncle Summer, let's go. Knight Sorrow nodded at Summer City and entered the teleportation circle. Your Highness, is it done? Summer City asked excitedly. It's done. Knight Sorrow nodded. He was also very happy. After teleporting to Seven Night City, Knight Sorrow went to the small lakeside house. In the small lakeside house, Jun Xuanji was making tea while the Qing Emperor and Misty Rain were talking. Seeing Knight Sorrow return, the Qing Emperor nodded at Knight Sorrow. Misty Rain pulled out a chair beside him and nodded at Summer City. Knight Sorrow, sit beside Master's wife. Summer City, you sit too. Master, disciple has gained something this time. Although I didn't obtain the enlightened Tao, I obtained the heavenly Tao, which is more effective than the enlightened Tao. The origin of the profound yellow world said that a leaf is equivalent to the enlightened Tao. It can repair damaged dantian and meridians. Next, Night Sorrow plucked a leaf from the heavenly Tao and handed it to the Qing Emperor. Master, quickly eat it. Otherwise the spirit qi will dissipate. Holding the heavenly Tao leaf, the Qing Emperor nodded and swallowed it. After swallowing the heavenly Tao leaf, an indescribable aura appeared on the Qing Emperor's body. Master will go meditate. After nodding at Night Sorrow, the Qing Emperor returned to the small lakeside house. Master's wife, if everything goes well, Master will Wuyo's life and his strength will also recover. However, he will still have to endure the poisonous centipede's poison. Night Sorrow said, Your master is not a delicate person. He suffered a lot when he was young, so he cultivated a good temperament. Pain is nothing to him. It's good that he is alive, not to mention recovering his strength. It's been hard on you this time. Misty Rain said as she looked at the pavilion where the Qing Emperor was meditating. Xuanji, give me the latest information later. During this time, they have been jumping around happily. I will deal with them later. Night Sorrow said. Jun Xuanji nodded. She knew Night Sorrow's temper. He would not cause trouble, but if someone provoked him, he would not let it go. After that, Night Sorrow went to the city in the sky and met Father Gu, his parents, wife, and children. After having dinner with his family, he returned to the Nine Chong building. After knowing that Night Sorrow had returned, the morale of the Qing Emperor's dynasty instantly soared. This was because the invincible commander had appeared. The officials and princes all arrived at Night Sorrow's place to report the situation of the association. Qing Lin and Qing Wan also arrived. It's been hard on everyone these days. Night Sorrow said. The officials all shook their heads. Qing Wan said that it was all thanks to Jun Xuanji that they could stabilize the situation. After that, Night Sorrow told everyone to calm down first. He would make arrangements for the following matters. On D6. Everyone left except for Qing Lin and Qing Wan. Sister, why aren't you going back? Qing Lin asked Qing Wan. Brother, why aren't you leaving? Qing Wan asked Qing Lin. After hesitating for a moment, Qing Lin said, I have something to tell Junior Brother. Don't hide good things. What else is there that I can't hear? Qing Wan replied directly. She had no intention of leaving. Senior Brother, please speak your mind. I'll do what I can. Even if I can't, I'll think of a way. Night Sorrow said. I just want to ask you something. Is Xuanji married? Qing Lin asked after hesitating for a moment. Night Sorrow smiled. He understood what Qing Lin was thinking. His answer was to let Qing Lin ask him himself. Qing Lin smiled. Since Junior Brother said so, I have an answer. I used to have a wife but she didn't enter the king's dynasty. She left after leaving behind 2 children. Now that I have some feelings, I just don't know if it's suitable. I'll have to think about it. Night Sorrow looked at Qing Wan. Senior sister, tell me, who do you like? Don't provoke those with families. We can't do anything immoral. After hearing Night Sorrow's words, Qing Wan slammed the table. What are you talking about? What immoral thing have I done? I just want to ask you. What's the situation in the Heaven and Earth Pavilion? Is it as dirty as you think? Imperial younger sister, you're in the wrong here. Do you think that love between a man and a woman is dirty? Junior Brother is right. We can't do anything immoral, Qing Lin said with a smile. I can't be bothered with the 2 of you. Qing Wan glared at Night Sorrow and Qing Lin before getting up and leaving. Junior Brother, your senior sister is not bad. If you want, you can tell father and mother. Qing Lin said with a smile. Senior Brother, you can't joke about this. That's my senior sister. Night Sorrow said seriously. Yes, Qing Wan is your senior sister. I remember that both your wives are your senior sisters. You're her killer. Qing Lin said. What are you talking about? I don't want to talk to you anymore. You won't understand. I'm going to find Uncle Xian Daozi to do something. Night Sorrow stood up. Okay. Let me know if you need anything. Qing Lin also stood up. After sending Qing Lin off, Night Sorrow didn't wait for Xian Daozi to find him. Instead, Xian Daozi and Shangguan Hong came to the 9-layer pavilion. Speak. Chapter 1328. Night Sorrow wanted to find Xian Daozi because of the heavenly Dao divine artifact, the Haotian divine pagoda. Xian Daozi had said before that he would perform a divination for him. In the beginning, it was because Xian Daozi had divined the body of virtue in the 9 regions world, so he couldn't continue. Later, Xian Daozi could, but Night Sorrow brought the pagoda of time and space into the reincarnation palace to cultivate, so he couldn't come out. Night Sorrow planned to use the pagoda of time and space to trouble Xian Daozi to find out where the missing part of the pagoda of time and space was. Night Sorrow brought Xian Daozi and Shangguan Hong into the main hall of the 9-layer pagoda and poured tea for them. Your Highness, you've been gone for almost 2 years, and we've been very bored. We feel like heroes are useless, Xian Daozi said. When the time comes, just don't say that you're tired, Night Sorrow said. Xian Daozi and Shangguan Hong shook their heads. They felt that they had no passion and were bored. When Night Sorrow was there, he fought and beat the celestial sect until they ran away like rats. Now, the Qing Emperor's dynasty was very stable, but they were very depressed. After all, they were provoked. Uncle Xian Daozi, I want to ask you for a favor, Night Sorrow said to Xian Daozi. Your Highness is too polite. What is it? Your Highness, please tell me. Xian Daozi's attitude was very righteous. Uncle Xian Daozi, you know how this storm started. I want to know where the missing part of the pagoda of time and space is, Night Sorrow said. Yes, but it will be in 3 days. I'll make some preparations. In 3 days, Your Highness will go to the Qing Emperor's palace. Xian Daozi cupped his hands to Night Sorrow, then left the 9-layer pagoda. Uncle Xia, is this very troublesome? He looked at Summer City and asked. That's right, said Summer City. You need to burn incense, bathe, and calm your mind. Divination is harmful to your own Dao, and many people don't want to learn it. Xian Daozi felt that his potential had been exhausted, which was why he chose to practice divination. Instead, he made some progress. Now, he needs to make some preparations to avoid the wrath of heaven. If I'd known, I wouldn't have said anything. I've caused Uncle Xian Daozi so much trouble. Night Sorrow felt somewhat apologetic. What trouble? He relies on this to make a living. He's a wily old fox. No problem, Shangguan Hong said. After resting in the 9 grand floors for 3 days, Night Sorrow, Summer City, and Shangguan Hong went to the Qing Emperor's palace, and then to Xian Daozi's astrology platform. At this moment, Xian Daozi was wearing hemp robes and a bronze crown. Your Highness, it's done. Xian Daozi, seated cross-legged on a prayer mat, nodded to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow took out the space-time pagoda and placed it in front of Xian Daozi. After that, Summer City and Shangguan Hong brought Night Sorrow outside to wait. At this time, Xian Daozi could not be disturbed. Night Sorrow and the others made tea and waited. 4 hours later, Xian Daozi emerged and returned the space-time pagoda to Night Sorrow. Your Highness, the results of the divination are not very clear. There is no specific direction or location. This is the image. Your subordinate will leave the image here. Your Highness, take it. If you see this image, you must pay attention. The space-time pagoda's flaw is here. Xian Daozi took out a crystal ball and handed it to Night Sorrow. Holding the crystal ball, Night Sorrow saw the image inside. Beneath the starry sky was a mountain, and below the mountain was a winding river. Night Sorrow had never seen such a scene before. Thank you for your hard work, Uncle Xian Daozi. Night Sorrow poured a cup of tea for Xian Daozi. A heavenly Dao divine artifact is not easy to divine. The interference is too great and I am unable to complete the details. This is the best I can do. There was an apologetic look on Xian Daozi's face. Uncle Xian Daozi, you are too polite. Thank you for your hard work, Night Sorrow said. It's nothing. Just a few days of rest. Additionally, you cannot divine for the next 3 years because even divination is not effective, Xian Daozi said. After that, Night Sorrow brought Xian Daozi and the others to a restaurant for a meal. Xian Daozi went to rest while Night Sorrow returned to 9-layered building. After that, Night Sorrow and Summer City teleported to 7-Night City. Night Sorrow and Summer City were both worried about Qing Emperor's situation. When they arrived at the lakeside building in 7-Night City, Night Sorrow saw Misty Rain pacing back and forth with his hands behind his back. Master's wife. Master hasn't come out of seclusion yet? Night Sorrow asked. No, he has been meditating. However, there are energy fluctuations coming from his body. That is a good thing, Misty Rain said. Master's wife, there is no need to worry. The essence of a great world would not lie. If he says there is no problem, then there is no problem, Night Sorrow said. Although he was a little anxious, he still believed in the effects of the heavenly Tao. Misty Rain nodded. She knew how much Night Sorrow had spent on Qing Emperor's matter. Half a month later, Qing Emperor came out of seclusion. After coming out, Qing Emperor punched the air, causing an energy vortex to churn in the air. I have 30% of my cultivation, Qing Emperor said, looking at his fist. How can it be 30%? Master, your dantian and meridians have not been repaired yet? Night Sorrow asked. They have been repaired. The damage in my body has also been repaired. However, my dantian was destroyed by the puppet's destructive energy. My dantian and meridians have been repaired, but it will take time to cultivate the energy back. Now that I have recovered 30%, it is already very good. Give me some time, and I will be able to fully recover my cultivation. Qing Emperor was very satisfied with the current results. Master, with your cultivation, you can suppress the evil venomous centipede. Night Sorrow was very happy to hear Qing Emperor's words. Although the evil venomous centipede has not been solved, it can be suppressed. There will be no problems in the future. Don't worry. Give me some time, and all the troubles will be no trouble. Qing Emperor was also very happy to feel that his dantian and meridians were fine. There is more. Master, this is the elixir I refined. Night Sorrow took out the Thunder Pattern Soft Jade Tendon Elixir. Thunder Pattern Soft Jade Tendon Elixir. What kind of elixir is this? Qing Emperor asked in surprise when he saw the elixir that Night Sorrow took out. Soft Jade Tendon Elixir. It is an elixir that strengthens the meridians. Night Sorrow explained the effect of the Soft Jade Tendon Elixir. Good. Master will accept it. Qing Emperor nodded with a smile. Master's wife, I don't have any good gifts for you. Here are 3 drops of soul cultivation elixir. Night Sorrow took out a small bottle and handed it to Misty Rain. Haha. Master's wife appreciates your kindness. In the past, your master obtained a drop of soul cultivation elixir. Master's wife and a few people in Summer City have used it. You can keep it. Misty Rain said. Master's wife, please accept this Thunder Pattern Soft Jade Tendon Elixir. Night Sorrow took out a Thunder Pattern Soft Jade Tendon Elixir. After thinking for a while, Misty Rain accepted it. However, when Night Sorrow gave it to Summer City and Shangguan Hong rejected it. They only wanted ordinary elixirs. They didn't want the Thunder Pattern Soft Jade Tendon Elixir. Night Sorrow had no choice but to take out 2 ordinary elixirs. Unique %V original/version Q*. It's his. They were all pirated. Master, do you know how many Heaven Master level puppets the Celestial Sect has? Night Sorrow asked. The second update has arrived. There will be an explosion of 10 updates today. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your unblocking yesterday. Chapter 1329. Unsealed? Not many. Last time I destroyed one. Of the ones they took out, there are only 3 left, the Qing Emperor said. A few days ago, when I came out of the Heaven and Earth Pavilion, the Celestial Sect sent a giant puppet to kill me. However, it was killed by Datura Datura. The elder died, and the puppet was taken away by Datura Datura, Night Sorrow said. Good. Their strength has been greatly reduced, so they will be more obedient. However, Night Sorrow, you have to remember to not suppress them too much. If they feel that they are about to be destroyed, they will use that skeleton. We might not be able to withstand it, the Qing Emperor said. Master, we can't always be bullied by them because of this. Night Sorrow rubbed his forehead. Night Sorrow, things are relative. They shouldn't provoke us too much. If they do, then we have nothing to worry about. The Qing Emperor nodded to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow didn't say anything. He didn't care how powerful the other party's trump cards were. As long as they wanted to fight, he would accompany them to the end. Night Sorrow, what are you thinking about? Misty Rain looked at Night Sorrow, who was deep in thought, and asked, Master's wife, we don't have to worry too much. The 9 regions world where I came from will be a supreme world in the future. If the situation is bad, the Qing Emperor's dynasty will develop in the 9 regions world. Without my permission, the king can't enter the 9 regions world. So what if he has trump cards? I can stabilize the rear and then fight to the death with him, Night Sorrow said. Haha. You are right. We have a place to retreat, so we can fight however we want. However, after they use up their trump cards, it will be the end of the celestial sect. Alright, you can arrange things as you see fit. Now, we should return to the Qing Emperor's dynasty. I am not dead, so the celestial sect's momentum will fall. Qing Emperor made his decision. He wanted to recover his cultivation now. The Azure Sky Pavilion had 5 times the time acceleration, which was more convenient than in the 7-night city. Yes, it's time to go back. It's also time to show our faces and let the celestial sect know that their plan has failed. Misty Rain nodded. Night Sorrow didn't object. Then, they returned to the Qing Emperor's palace. Qing Emperor didn't keep a low profile when he showed up. Many people knew about it. The Qing Emperor had ruled the Qing Emperor's dynasty for many years. He was the faith of the Qing Emperor's dynasty. The appearance of the Qing Emperor excited everyone. The Qing Emperor's empire had 3 heaven masters. The Qing Emperor and Zhan Tan were both extremely powerful heaven masters. After meeting with the officials in the Qing Emperor's palace, the Qing Emperor announced that Night Sorrow would be in charge of the Qing Emperor's dynasty from now on. Master, it's no secret that I'm the world lord. In the 9 regions world, it's my world. I feel that the Qing Emperor's dynasty can develop a base in the 9 regions world. Night Sorrow looked at the Qing Emperor and said, You're right. You're the world lord. The 9 regions world is the safest place. Qing Shan, you'll be in charge of this matter. Remember, you can't disturb the 9 regions world. You're just building it up. Don't allow the cultivators of the Qing Emperor's dynasty to find opportunities and train in the 9 regions world. The Qing Emperor said. He knew that the 9 regions world had just become a high-grade world. It was still developing into a great world. If people messed around, it would prolong its evolution. Father, I'll take care of it. But what's the scale? Qing Shan bowed and asked. Large scale. As long as the dynasty's resources can support it, the scale should be larger. It can't exceed the situation of the 9 regions world's main city, Clear Sky City. The bigger the better. Azure Emperor said after thinking for a moment. He knew the situation of the 9-domain world. Yi Shang had a sovereign source, which meant that in the future, the 9-domain world would be the 9-domain great worlds. It would be a prosperous place, so there would be no restrictions if they built it on a larger scale. Qing Shan was stunned. He didn't know why the Qing Emperor valued it so much. But since the Qing Emperor said so, he could only do as he was told. Night Sorrow, I'm going into seclusion. Your senior brother is also in seclusion. I'll leave the Qing Emperor's dynasty to you. But there are some things that don't need to be rushed. The Qing Emperor reminded Night Sorrow. Look at #original chapter. After the officials left, Night Sorrow was called to the Azure Sky Pavilion by the Qing Emperor. The Qing Emperor's dynasty is a struggle between forces. It's the situation. The improvement of your own strength is also very important. It's your personal achievement. You can't slack off. In addition, this is the formation I've studied in the past 2 years. It's my highest achievement in the formation these years. It's called the 9 Serenities Slaughtering Divine Dragon Tiger Formation. The Qing Emperor gave Night Sorrow a formation map. Thank you, Master. I plan to continue my seclusion and cultivate. My doppelganger will deal with some things, Night Sorrow said. Okay, you can do as you see fit. The Qing Emperor actually had the same idea. He hoped that his disciple would have achievements in both the management of forces and his own strength. The Qing Emperor went into seclusion. Night Sorrow went out of the Azure Sky Pavilion. Night Sorrow, you plan to go to the Samsara Palace. I'll send you there, Misty Rain said. Night Sorrow nodded. He knew that this was the Elder's kind intention. He left enough resources for his own body and gave the rest to his doppelganger. Then he went to the Samsara city with the ice dragon's blood essence and elixirs and entered the Samsara palace with misty rain. The origin of the Samsara palace asked Knight Sorrow about his trip to the Heaven and Earth Pavilion. Knight Sorrow told it everything. For the sake of your master, you have no other choice. In fact, I have the same idea as him. We are both looking for a way out for ourselves. You can get the resources to heal your master's injuries. It can be considered as resolving a knot in your heart. Work hard from now on, said the origin of Samsara Palace after hearing Yishang's words. Knight Sorrow's own body entered the pagoda of time and space to cultivate. This trip to the Heaven and Earth Pavilion was the biggest gain of the Way of Heaven, but Knight Sorrow's state of mind and soul had also improved a lot. After sending Knight Sorrow's own body to the Samsara Palace, Misty Rain went to the Jochong building again. Mistress, this is the Thunder Pattern Soft Jade Tendon Elixir. Take it. These are for your other senior brothers and sisters. Knight Sorrow took out 6 ordinary soft jade tendon elixirs. In fact, the princes who had not been conferred the title of Highness were not Knight Sorrow's senior brothers. Knight Sorrow just called them that. Then I'll take them. Everyone wants their children to be successful. This is the heart of a parent, Misty Rain said. Mistress, I don't have the ability to obtain the white tiger blood at the moment. It will take some time, Knight Sorrow said. Your master is the Azure the Arch. His life is not in danger, and his cultivation can still be recovered. The evil dragon poison centipede won't be able to do anything to him. You don't have to worry. Just focus on your cultivation first, said Heavenly Lord Yufei. Then, Knight Sorrow began to refine elixirs. He wanted to refine a batch of resources for the members of the God-slaying team, including the soft jade tendon elixir. After half a month, Knight Sorrow finished refining the elixirs. However, guests from the Jochong building also came to the Jochong building. They were guests from the Xuanhuan Great World. Junhua came first, followed by Hailing. They all felt that they owed Knight Sorrow a favor. Knight Sorrow received the 2 of them at the Jochong building. Junhua, how is your aunt? Knight Sorrow asked. Very good. She's currently a blacksmith. My uncle hopes that my aunt will have a handy weapon, Junhua said. Tell me. Chapter 1330. Unseal? Find someone to refine weapons. What kind of weapons? Yishan asked. A weapon with thunder property. The highest level of craftsman in Wuling Villa is a mid-level Heaven Master Craftsman. That's not enough. My aunt wants us to make a high-level king weapon so that we can live up to my uncle's efforts, Junhua said. Your Highness, why don't you make it for us? Laning said. She and Hong Yi used to call him Young Master Knight Sorrow, but now they called him Your Highness. Brother Yi, can you make high-level king weapons? Junhua looked at Knight Sorrow in surprise. I can, but I'm worried that I won't ask my aunt for help, Knight Sorrow said. Okay, wait here. I'll go back and tell my aunt. I already owe you a favor anyway. Junhua stood up and said. After Yishang sent Junhua away, he spoke to Hailing. I'm very grateful for this trip to Heaven and Earth Pavilion. You really helped me a lot, Hailing said. Actually, it's nothing. Even if we didn't meet or team up, you'll just have fewer resources, Knight Sorrow said with a smile. It's not like that. Other resources are resources, but the rootless grass is not a resource for me. It's my future. Because of congenital reasons, my veins are narrower. It's fine in the early stage, but when I reach the level of 8-star king, the drawbacks appear. I can't support the flow of energy. Before I entered Heaven and Earth Pavilion, I was at the peak of 8-star king level. The energy I could use was only at the mid-level of 8-star king level. If I didn't solve it, no matter how much I improved, the energy in my body wouldn't be able to improve. Now that this drawback has been solved, I'm very grateful to you, Hailing said. It's really nothing. Since you can come here, then we're friends. Since we're friends, then let's be polite. Then I won't bother with the pleasantries. Red Robe, tell Chief Steward he to prepare a banquet and entertain the guests tonight, said Yishang. All right, then I won't be courteous with you. Also, I know that you're a heavenly master alchemist. Are you also a heavenly master craftsman? Hailing looked at Knight Sorrow with doubt in her eyes. This was because she had personally witnessed Knight Sorrow concocting pills, and it was even a Thundermark level pill. Now that Night Sorrow had told Junhua that he could refine high-level king equipment, she was rather shocked. "I've dabbled a little, but I'm still self-sufficient," Night Sorrow said with a smile. "Amazing! This is a gift from my grandfather after he used the soft jade tendon pill." Hai Ling took out a storage ring. "Up, Hai Ling. This isn't appropriate. We were teammates at that time, and I naturally did what I could for my teammates. So, there's no need to thank me. You still need to give me a thank you gift," Night Sorrow refused. "You gave me a pill and fulfilled your promise. You saved me and fulfilled your friendship as a teammate, so it's only right to thank me." Hai Ling didn't take back the storage ring. "If you treat me as a friend, then take it back. You really don't have to do this," Night Sorrow said. Seeing that Night Sorrow didn't accept it, Hai Ling was helpless. She knew that Night Sorrow knew that this thank you gift wouldn't be light, but there was nothing she could do if he didn't accept it. "Since we're friends, then there's nothing messy. I'll take you around later," Night Sorrow said. While they were talking, Junhua brought Jun Yunan's wife to the Nine Chong building. Her surname was Wan, and her name was Wan Yu. "Night Sorrow, you can refine weapons?" Wan Yu sat down and asked. "Junhua, how should I address you?" Night Sorrow looked at Junhua. "I don't know either. Qing Emperor and my master are of the same generation. You and my aunt are of the same generation, but what about me?" "You'll be at a disadvantage if you call me aunt," Junhua said. "Then I'll call you aunt. Aunt, tell me your requirements and draw a blueprint. I'll see if it works. If it works, I'll help you refine it. If it doesn't work, then I'll have to ask a heavenly master to refine it," Night Sorrow said. At the same time, Hongyi brought over a pen and paper. Wan Yu nodded and drew the blueprint. "My requirements aren't high. I'm a cultivator of the lightning attribute. You can see how you can refine it. I won't mind if others refine it, but you can refine it however you want because you helped complete my late husband's dying wish," Wan Yu said. "Then please wait, Auntie. I'll see how I can refine it," Night Sorrow said. He had studied the 9 Hell Slaughtering God formation some time ago. There were lightning attribute formations in it, but he wanted to see which one was most suitable. Night Sorrow asked again and found out that Wan Yu's main attribute was Black Demon Lightning and her secondary attribute was Wind. Night Sorrow studied lightning attribute formations in the Time-Space Treasure Pagoda for 20 days. He felt that engraving the 9-9 Wind and Thunder formation in the weapon he was going to refine for Wan Yu. The 9-9 Wind and Thunder formation was a compound formation. It used the lightning attribute as the core and the wind attribute as the support. When he felt that it was enough, Night Sorrow started refining in the small martial arts arena of the 9 grand floors. The materials were naturally Wan Yu. The main material was Thunder Core Iron. Night Sorrow had many experiences in refining high-grade King Tier weapons. Refining a high-grade King Tier longsword was not difficult at all. However, there were many people watching. After 3 days, Night Sorrow finished refining the sword. He then took out the teeth of the Wind Fire Dragon and made the gloves. They were Wind Attribute gloves. After asking Wan Yu for her blood essence, Night Sorrow quenched the weapon and combined the blood essence with the weapon. The weapon was completed. The white jade-like gloves were made from dragon teeth. The purple crystal-like sword body was made from Thunder Core Iron. "Auntie, take a look. If there's anything you're not satisfied with, I can modify it." Night Sorrow handed the long sword to Wan Yu with both hands. After receiving the long sword, Wan Yu immediately connected with the long sword. She knew that this was a high-grade King Tier long sword. It was mainly lightning attribute with the wind attribute as the support. Wan Yu tried waving it twice. Immediately, the long sword was filled with lightning snakes. "It's too perfect. I never thought that I could forge such a long sword. It's too suitable for me." Wan Yu was a little excited. This weapon was a form of sustenance for her. Of course, the higher the level and the more suitable it was for her, the better. The weapon refined by Night Sorrow satisfied these 2 points. "Night Sorrow, what did you add to make the sword hilt?" Junhua asked. "That's a Wind Fire Dragon's tooth. It's a King Tier weapon. It won't disgrace this weapon. Auntie, because you have the wind attribute, I added it without permission. I think it's very suitable." Night Sorrow said. "You're helping me refine the weapon and you're even providing the materials. How can that be?" After hearing Night Sorrow's words, Wen Yu knew that it was a little inappropriate. Jun Yunan didn't take the Night Sorrow left behind by Night Sorrow. Now that he was providing the materials to refine the weapon, it didn't make sense. Auntie, it's nothing. Let's not talk about Senior Junhua and I are friends. Night Sorrow said. These are two different things. Night Sorrow, you're generous and have principles. But I'm also a person with principles. Wen Yu shook her head. Speak. Chapter 1331. What was Wen Yu's background? Her father was a tycoon, and she was the young master of Wuling Villa. How could she take advantage of Night Sorrow? She took out 2 stones. This is the Destruction Stone. It can be used to refine weapons and set up formations. Take it and study it, but don't hurt yourself. Wen Yu took out 2 stones, but they were wrapped in energy because the destructive energy would hurt others and oneself. Auntie, I really don't need this. Night Sorrow said and shook his head. Night Sorrow, take it. My auntie is an elder. How could she take advantage of you? That thing is good. My master has it. I've been eyeing it for a long time, but I didn't get it. Junhua said with a smile. You can't refuse an elder's gift. It's not appropriate for you not to accept it. She will always feel that she owes you. Sometimes, letting others feel at ease is also a good deed. Misty Rain said. Night Sorrow nodded and accepted it because Misty Rain was right. He didn't think it through. Thank you, Misty Rain. Wen Yu bowed to Misty Rain. She knew that women understood women the best. Night Sorrow was kind, but he didn't understand her thoughts. You're welcome. Come often in the future. Misty Rain nodded with a smile. Wen Yu nodded. She stayed in the 9-story tower for 2 days and felt that the atmosphere here was very good. It was full of vitality. Even the tycoon Yufei monarch was talking and laughing here. Summer City and Shangguanhong were the same. Many people put on airs when they reached the senior king level in order to accumulate power, let alone the monarch and tycoon. But it was not like this in the 9-story tower. I'm sorry that I didn't treat everyone well these few days because I was studying formations. Night Sorrow said. It's okay. You don't have to be so polite. Brother Yi, why didn't I see your family? Didn't you see your sisters? Hailing asked. She was referring to Night Sorrow's wife. The world of samsara is too chaotic these days. Several forces are fighting with the Qing Emperor's dynasty. I was worried about the danger, so I didn't let them come. Night Sorrow said. If you need support, just say the word. I'll talk to Lord Father and see if we can form an alliance. Although we are not in the same great world, having an ally in the other side's great world is not bad, Wen Yu said. Thank you for your kindness, Auntie. We're fine now, but we're still in the limelight, Night Sorrow said. Night Sorrow, I've always wanted to ask you something. I don't think it's appropriate to ask, but I won't ask. His heart itched. Have you made it to the end of the Heaven and Earth Pavilion? Junhua asked. Hee, I'm also very concerned about this topic, but I'm too embarrassed to ask. I'm afraid it's inappropriate, Hailing said with a smile. I've made it to the end. The Heaven and Earth Pavilion has a total of 33 levels. However, the later levels are indeed very difficult. Didn't I make it to the end? It's indeed very dangerous. If I'm not careful, I'll be doomed eternally. Night Sorrow nodded. He couldn't lie to his friends. Then what heavenly artifact did you get? Junhua asked excitedly. You know that I didn't go there for the heavenly artifact. Also, I'm only allowed to make one request in the Heaven and Earth Pavilion. If I pass the test, I'll be able to fulfill it, Night Sorrow said. Night Sorrow, you gave up the heavenly artifact for the Tao? Misty Rain looked at Night Sorrow in shock. Nothing is more important than Master's health, Night Sorrow said. But your Master has other opportunities, and the opportunity to obtain a heavenly Tao artifact is very rare. It's almost non-existent. Heavenly Monarch Yufei's heart was touched because Yi Shang had sacrificed a lot. Mistress, you're thinking too much. It's nothing. On the 33rd level, under the control of the Heaven and Earth Pavilion's artifact spirit, I fell into an environment and experienced 100 lifetimes. I understood my shortcomings and flaws in life. and my mental state and soul were perfected. This is the greatest gain, Night Sorrow said with a smile. He was indeed very satisfied with the tempering of his mental state and soul during this trip to the Heaven and Earth Pavilion. What's going on with 100 lifetimes? Junhua asked because he had never heard of it. The origin of the Heaven and Earth Pavilion said that if one's mental state is lacking, one will be immersed in it and never wake up. There is only 100 lifetimes to wake up and comprehend. I was lucky. During my 100th lifetime, I understood what I wanted and what I had to do, Night Sorrow said. Forever. Free look, small. Equals speak. Night Sorrow did not mention some details. The origin of the Heaven and Earth Pavilion had said that it was not good to comprehend in advance. One would not be able to understand the true meaning of life. Only by comprehending 99 lifetimes and 100 lifetimes would one be perfect. 9 by 9 lifetimes and 100 lifetimes were in line with the truth of 9 by 9 lifetimes. This has nothing to do with strength. It can't be controlled. Junhua said. Yes, it's a test of human nature. It's also a test of luck. Night Sorrow said. The 33rd level. I only reached the 10th level and almost lost my life. You reached the 33rd level. The difference is really immeasurable, Junhua said with some emotion. Night Sorrow, if you go again in 3 million years and ask for the heavenly artifact, you'll make a fortune, Hailing said excitedly. I don't plan to go again. I got what I wanted in the Heaven and Earth Pavilion. I'm satisfied and satisfied. It's better to leave those for the future, Night Sorrow said with a smile. In terms of cultivation level and temperament, you far surpass other youngsters. One Yu admired Yi Shang very much, because no one else would have such a temperament. Then, a banquet was held in the Nine Chong building. Misty Rain also attended. After all, Hai Ling and Wen Yu were the descendants of Heaven Pillar. Misty Rain was considered an elder and should receive them. After staying for 2 days, Hai Ling, Junhua, and Wen Yu said that they wanted to go out for a walk. Night Sorrow could do his own things. Night Sorrow reminded them not to go to the Celestial Sect, Burning Heaven Tower, and Black Fiend Valley. Those were the opponents of the Qing Emperor's dynasty. The other places did not matter. After the guests left, Night Sorrow said goodbye to Misty Rain and returned to the city in the sky. The harvest this time was huge. Night Sorrow naturally gave some resources to his wife and parents. Then, he stayed with his family for a while. He also told Long Xianxing and Xiaolon Jun, who were in charge of the 9 regions world, that the Qing Emperor's dynasty was going to build a city. This is a good thing for our 9 regions world. For the 9 regions world to develop into a large world, there must be foreign cultivators. Only by interacting with each other can we improve. Long Xianxing said. He was more willing to see such a situation. Xiaolon Jun was also supportive. They knew that as long as Night Sorrow was around, the 9 regions world would not collapse. It would stand tall between the heavens and earth. You guys should go out for a walk too. You're already at the peak of the Saint King realm. If you work harder, you'll be a king. Only a king can be eternal. Night Sorrow said to Long Xianxing and Xiaolon Jun. He also hoped that the people of the 9 regions world could achieve something. He worked hard for his family and the stability of the 9 regions world. You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.